Welcome to the British Crime Show series. The first show we have is Sexton Blake and the Sin Eaters, which was broadcast on the 31st of August 1967. During 1967, Radio 4 broadcast a popular series of Sexton Blake radio adventures starring William Franklin as Blake, David Gregory as Tinker, and Heather Chasen as Blake's secretary, Paula Dane. Broadcast on Thursday nights at 7:00 p.m., this series of 17 programs, which ran weekly from the 24th of August to the 14th of December, was scripted by Donald Stewart, devised for radio by Philip Ridgway, and produced by veteran radio producer Alistair Scott Johnston.
The history of crime detection has produced no more famous name than that of Sexton Blake. We present William Franklin as Sexton Blake, with David Gregory as his assistant Tinker, and Heather Chasen as his secretary Paula Dane, in a series of case histories by Donald Stewart.
I live here, in a cottage in the village.
Your whiskey, Mr. Quexley, sir.
Thank you. This is on me. Here you are, landlord. Take for the sandwiches as well, will you?
Right, thank you, sir.
Cheers. Funny thing, Blake, you must be psychic. I was going to ring you.
Sudden nostalgia after nearly 3 years?
No, just a queer thing I can't explain.
Your change and the sandwiches, sir.
Thanks. Sorry, Quexley. Take a look at these.
Playing cards. 10, knave, queen, king of spades, almost a royal flush. Been playing poker?
No. You see that line of writing on each card? Now, if you take them in order of value, you get...
A message, yes, I see. Seek for the ace at the stairs between two gates. Ask for the black Zambomba, says the Sin Eater. What's it mean?
You tell me.
How did you get these cards?
By post.
All together?
No, separately. Enclosed in cheap envelopes. The address was all right, but... well, I've no more idea than the man in the moon who sent them or what they mean.
What's, a black Zambomba?
It's a child's toy, a kind of musical instrument. Spanish origin. What was the postmark?
Maidstone. I don't know anybody in Maidstone.
Quite an intriguing little puzzle. Could be some sort of advertisement, I suppose. Or a joke.
What's the point?
A little obscure, I'll admit. Well, I'm afraid we must be off, Quexley.
Oh, no, you'll have another drink.
Sorry, old man, I've an urgent appointment in London, and we shall only just make it. We only stopped because Paula's stomach was screaming for nourishment.
But I'm only halfway through these sandwiches.
Bring them with you. You can have mine as well. I'll keep in touch with you, Quexley.
Fine.
Can I take these cards?
Of course. Oh, here, you'd better have my phone number. Got a pencil somewhere.
Here, use this.
Thank you. There you are. And don't forget to ring.
I won't. So long, old man. Sorry to have to rush off.
Good night, Mr. Quexley.
Bye-bye, Miss Dane. Bye, Blake. Look forward to hearing from you. Jasper.
Yes, sir.
Bring me another large scotch, will you?
Now, hop in. We'll have to step on it.
Well, it's been quite a day.
Yes. Nice to see old Quexley again. Pity we had to rush away. Like to have had a chat over old times.
Can you make any sense out of the message on those playing cards?
He said I must be psychic, but I can assure you I'm not.
What's the Sin Eater when he's at home?
What? Oh, in the old days, he was a chap who, for a small fee, was supposed to take all the sins of a recently dead person to himself by eating bread beside the corpse.
Ugh, charming.
Doesn't help much to explain the message on those cards, does it? Now, why don't you finish eating the sandwiches you're clutching so desperately?
I wonder how many sandwiches I'd have to eat to take up all your sins. Or is that just a polite way of telling me to shut up?
I want to think over this Quexley puzzle.
Oh, all right. I'll be as dumb as an oyster. All the way back to Berkeley Square.
Sexton Blake speaking.
Blake. I've been shot.
Quexley? What?
Listen. Not much time. They broke in. Those playing cards.
Quexley. Can you hear me? Quexley. Quexley! Oh, come on. Operator, listen, this is urgent. Connect me with the police station at Larkminster. Larkminster. No, I don't know the number. Never mind about the supervisor. Get me through as quickly as you can. A man's life may depend on it. Go on, hurry. Tinker, wake up. Come to my room. It's urgent.
What's up, Governor? What's all the racket about?
I can't stop to explain. I'm on the phone. Hello? Oh, damn it. Why don't they get a move on? Hello, Larkminster Police. Listen, Sergeant, this is Sexton Blake speaking. Send around at once to Mr. Quexley's house. Mr. Quexley. He's been shot. Take a doctor with you. Don't talk, man. Get busy. It's serious. I'm coming down straight away. I'll answer any questions when I get there. Hurry.
Do you say that Mr. Quexley's been shot, Governor?
Yes, get dressed as quickly as you can.
How did it happen?
I'll tell you all I know on the way. Hurry up, Tinker, and get the car. It's just after 2:30. We ought to get to Larkminster about 4:45.
Quexley was dead when we got here, sir. Shot twice through the chest. Both bullets pierced his lungs. The doctor said he practically drowned in his own blood.
Poor old Quexley.
They've made a pretty thorough mess of the place, Inspector Hedges.
Oh, they certainly have.
Looking for those playing cards. There's little doubt that was the objective.
Mr. Quexley surprised them and they shot him.
Have you any idea what the message on the cards means, Mr. Bragg?
Not at the moment, Inspector.
Well, do you think that Mr. Quexley was telling the truth when he told you that he didn't know anything about it, or who sent him?
Yes, I'm fairly sure he was.
How well did you know Mr. Quexley, sir?
We were old friends. Quexley was a journalist of political stuff, mostly foreign affairs. He was attached to the Chronicle for a number of years. Then he came into a bit of money on the death of an uncle, I believe. And I lost track of him until I ran into him at the pub last night.
I see. He didn't say anything at all that might help to explain this business, sir.
There wasn't time to talk much. I had an appointment with the Home Secretary and had to dash away to get back to London in time. If I'd known what was going to happen to the poor
It
chap...
didn't strike you that there was anything serious about the message on the cards?
Would it have struck you, Inspector?
Well, no, sir, I can't say it would. More like a sort of crossword puzzle. Well, we may find some sort of clue when we go through all this litter, but of course we can't touch anything until the photographers and fingerprint chaps have been.
I doubt if you'll find anything. I must be getting back to London. I'm leaving my assistant to have a prowl around the village.
Any special object, Governor?
No, just a picker-up of unconsidered trifles. Quexley must have made a few friends when he came to live here. See if they can tell you anything.
Well, I thought you were sure that Mr. Quexley didn't know anything about the playing cards.
That doesn't necessarily mean that someone he knew didn't and doesn't. Use your common sense. Goodbye for the present, Inspector.
Goodbye, Mr. Blake. I'll let you know if we get onto anything.
I'll do the same.
Here, Governor. If you're going to take the car, how do I get back?
Hire a car from somewhere, or you might try hitchhiking. Though I hardly think you've got the right sort of legs to be very successful.
Mr. Blake isn't available at the moment. No, I've no idea. Look, I'm sorry, but I can't give you any information at all. Yes, I understand that. I'll give Mr. Blake your message. Yes, I'll make it quite clear. Goodbye. Ooh.
I'm back, Paula. Anything important?
Well, they've been ringing up from the Home Office all morning. They don't sound a bit pleased.
It's the starch in their diet.
You said you'd let them know this morning if you would undertake that...
I know. You got my note about poor Quexley?
Yes, I'm terribly sorry. Did you find out anything at Larkminster?
Nothing. Tinker's still there making inquiries. I doubt whether they'll amount to much. Did you get on to Chief Inspector Coots?
Yes, he's ringing back.
Good. What about any other Quexley? It's an unusual name. There can't be many of them.
I've got Nichols onto that. Oh, if that's a Home Office again, what do I say?
The first thing that comes into your head. It's a language they understand.
Oh, very funny. Mr. Sexton Blake's residence? Oh, hold on a second, please. It's Chief Inspector Coots.
Hello, Coots, old man. Nothing at all, eh? I thought it was just possible there might be something in CRO. It would take too long to explain now. I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. You always are in a hurry. Take it a bit more easily. You'll be getting stomach ulcers. So long, John. Thanks for your trouble.
There's no record of anyone called a Sin Eater.
No. Get Mrs. Bardell to make a pot of coffee, will you, Paula? Very strong.
Yes, of course.
I don't want to see anybody.
Don't worry, I'll cope. Oh!
Anything the matter, Paula?
Just as you told, mister, this bird's going to get her face sliced, see? We don't want no trouble.
Don't let me go, you...
Who are you? What do you want?
We want those playing cards, mate. That's all. Just them cards.
came in after Mr. Quexley left the pub last night, landlord.
That's right. He wanted to know Mr. Quexley's address. Actually, he didn't come in because I was just closing up.
You gave him the address?
Well, I didn't see any harm in it. He was a pleasant sort of chap, stoutish, rather red-faced. Of course, if I'd have known.
You couldn't, could you? You'd never seen this man before, I suppose.
No, sir, he was a stranger to me.
Had he got a car?
Yeah. I didn't see it, but I heard it.
Would you recognize him again if you saw him?
Yes, I'm sure I would. He got a large mole on the corner of his mouth, just about here.
Well, that may be helpful. You're a Londoner, aren't you, Mr. Jasper?
That's right, sir. I only took over the lark a year ago.
Be quiet after the smoke, eh?
Yeah, you're right there, sir. This is the first bit of excitement we've had. I suppose robbery was the motive. Was anything valuable stolen?
Well, the police are still checking up.
I hope they get whoever did it. You know, that chap didn't look like a burglar.
Well, there's no evidence that he was.
Except that it's a queer thing he should come here asking for the address on the same night that it happened, don't you think so, sir?
Well, you may be able to explain that when we find him.
Maybe you're right, sir.
Is there any place I can hire a car to get me back to London?
Not in the village. The nearest place you get anything like that would be Retford. It's just over 7 miles.
7 miles?
Yeah, just a minute, sir. When do you want to go?
Well, as soon as possible.
Miss Joan will be driving up to London in about 20 minutes. She'd take you, I'm pretty sure.
Miss Joan?
Miss Joan Clements. She's the vicar's daughter. This is her day for going up to London. Why don't you pop round to the vicarage and see her? She'd take you willingly.
Oh, I can but try, can't I? Well, thanks a lot, Mr. Jasper.
You're welcome, sir. You'll find it'll be all right. The vicarage is just along the road and it's next to the church.
Yeah, I know. I pass it on the way here. Well, goodbye and thanks again.
Come on now, look, Slippy. We ain't got the rest of the blasted week. Chuck her with them cards.
What cards?
Shall I give her a tickle with a nasty?
No.
Did you hurt that girl?
What can you do, eh? She'd lose half her face before you could blink. Ain't that right, Ted?
That's right, mate. No, I ain't touched you yet, darling. You don't want to start singing before you've got something to sing about.
Who sent you here?
Who was it, Ted? Was it the Duke or the Archbishop? I can't remember now, can you?
I thought it was His Royal Highness.
I haven't got the cards you want.
Don't push the bird's luck, mate. Ted dishing for a bit of fun with his knife.
The police have got them.
Where shall I start the carving, Steve? What about a bit of this?
No!
I don't like spoiling a pretty thing like you, sweetheart.
Listen, I have not got those cards.
I'll give you just 1 minute to hand them over or the bird gets it, good and proper. Don't answer it, let it ring.
That's it. Let it ring.
What you mean?
If that call isn't answered, it'll be automatically transferred to the porter's office downstairs.
So what?
The porter knows that both Miss Dane and myself are in. We always tell him when this flat is left empty so that the switchboard girl can take incoming calls.
We couldn't care less, mate.
But you will. In my profession, one has to take precautions. The porter has instructions to notify the police if he suspects anything.
Right.
He'll be suspicious when he knows that we are in, but haven't answered the phone.
He's bluffing, Steve.
This building will be full of police in about 1 minute, 30 seconds. You'll find it difficult to get away, unless you go now.
Come on, Ted. I ain't risking it.
Oh, leave the bird.
Here, you fool. Come on.
Oh.
Put Rogers on the house phone, Miss Baker. It's urgent. All right, Paula?
Oh, well, just a little shaky.
Rogers, there are 2 young thugs on the way down. Usual type. I want them followed.
They believed you about the porter and the telephone.
I was afraid the phone would ring again and spoil it. I daren't do anything with that knife at your throat.
Well, he'd have loved to have used it.
Yeah, drink this brandy. It'll pull you together. I wonder who that phone call was from.
The Home Office again, probably.
They have their uses after all.
Do you want me to...
Yes? I see. Well, it can't be helped. You did. Well done. Yes, all right, Rogers. They got away. Went off like the wind on motorbikes. Rogers got the number of one of them.
Well, we can check up on that.
Yes, do that, Paula. Here's the number. How would you enjoy a breath of sea air?
Sea air?
Health-giving ozone. Clean and invigorating. Be ready to leave in 15 minutes.
Are you serious?
Very.
Going.
To follow up the message on those playing cards, we're going to find the ace. And I hope the Black Zambomba.
All right. I'll see you downstairs in 15 minutes.
Well, here we are. The stairs between 2 gates.
Broadstairs.
Exactly. It lies between Margate and Ramsgate. Simple.
When you know. How did you know?
Correlation of ideas. Those 2 young thugs, healthy tans, fights at seaside towns, Margate. And the whole thing clicked.
Very clever. And what next?
We look for the ace. I imagine that it's some place called the Ace of Spades or something of the kind.
There's a restaurant over there. Perhaps they'd know.
Paula, you're not hankering after food again, are you? It's becoming a fetish.
It may have slipped your memory, Mr. Blake, but I haven't had anything to eat since my breakfast.
Well, you'll have to wait. Here's the police station. That's the most likely place to find out. In here, Paula. Good afternoon, Sergeant. My name's Sexton Blake. I'm looking for somewhere in Broadstairs called the Ace. Ace of Spades, something like that, perhaps? Any ideas?
Well, I don't know of any place called the Ace. Not round here, Mr. Blake.
Is there anything perhaps with the initials ACE, Sergeant?
Oh, not that I can recall, sir.
It could be a guest house or a bungalow, perhaps.
Oh, I haven't heard of anything of that kind, miss. You could try a directory. Here, hold on a minute. There's the almshouses.
Almshouses?
Yes, the Anne Codrington estate, sir. They was built by a wealthy old lady, Miss Anne Codrington. Got a stone plaque over the front with her name and the date, 1902.
How do we get to them?
Oh, it's not far, sir. Just off Stone Road, on the way to North Foreland.
Well, thanks for your help, Sergeant. We'll get along.
You're welcome, sir. I hope it's what you're looking for.
Yes, so do I. Oh, one more question. Do you know of anyone in the district who's called or known as the Sin Eater?
The Sin Eater? Well, queer sort of name, sir. No, I'm afraid I don't. I'm sorry.
No, never mind, Sergeant. Thanks again. Come on, Paula.
There you are, Mr. Blake. The Anne Codrington estate. 4 quite attractive little cottages. Which one do we choose?
We might try number 1. The Ace stands for the highest or the lowest value.
Shall I come with you?
As long as you don't chunter on about food. Come on.
Who is it?
Can I speak to you for a moment, madam?
If you're selling something, I don't want it. If you want something, I ain't got it.
Well, that seems to cover everything.
If I could just have a word with you.
What do you want? If it's about the telly, I ain't got one.
I've called about the Black Zambomba.
Oh, is that it? You better come in.
Thank you.
They're always trying to sell you something that is round here. And if it ain't that it's collecting, it gets on your nerves.
I'm sure it must be very trying, Mrs.
Glibber. Agnes Glibber. I was in the middle of getting me supper. You'll be Mr. Quexley, I suppose.
I'm acting for Mr. Quexley.
Oh, he said I was to give it to Mr. Quexley.
The Sin Eater.
What?
The Sin Eater told you to give the Black Zambomba to Mr. Quexley.
Oh, I don't know nothing about no Sin Eater. Who are you? You ain't Mr. Quexley, so what do you know about it, eh?
Mrs. Glibber, I think I ought to tell you that this is a very serious business. A man has already been murdered.
Lord of mercy. Not Carlo, was it?
Carlo? Carlo who?
Carlo Rossi. Mr. Blake, that's the man.
Yes, all right, Paula. Mrs. Glibber, please tell me everything you know about Carlo Rossi.
Oh, I don't know, I'm sure.
It'd be easier to tell me than the police, wouldn't it?
The police? Was it Carlo what was murdered?
Why should you think it was?
Well, he never come back, you see. It worried me, it did, but I didn't rightly know what to do.
You know Carlo Rossi well?
He's my nephew. My sister married an Italian. During the First World War it was. She's dead now. Only she was younger than me. I never met her husband, and I'd only met young Carlo once before he come here.
When did he come here?
Well, it'd be about 2 weeks ago. Oh, that'll be the kettle. I was just going to make a cup, I was.
I'll make it for you, shall I?
Yes, do that, will you, Paula?
The tea's already in the pot, miss.
Now, Mrs. Glibber, your nephew Carlo Rossi came here to see you 2 weeks ago.
That's right. He wanted to know if he could stop here for a couple of nights. Fair got the jitters he had. I could tell he was in some sort of trouble. Up and down like a monkey on a stick, and he kept looking out of the window. When young Johnny knocked, he wouldn't let me go to the door until he'd called out who he was.
Who's young Johnny?
Oh, he's the son of a lady friend what does errands for me now and again. Oh, thank you, miss.
Go on, Mrs. Glibber. Did Carlo Rossi tell you what was worrying him?
Well, he said it was nothing. His nerves was upset, but I wasn't born yesterday. Scared stiff he was or something. If you ask me, somebody was after him.
What happened next?
Well, I give him a bed in the spare room, but he didn't sleep much. Walking about half the night he was. And when he come down in the morning, he looked shocking. I've got to be on my way, Aunt Agnes, he said. And that's when he give me that thing.
The Zambomba?
Yes, that's right. It was a funny-looking thing, like a black jam jar with the top covered over by a bit of parchment stuff. It's got to stick through the middle. He told me to keep it somewhere safe, as it was very valuable. If he didn't come back, I was to give it to a man named Quexley who'd come for it.
And then he left.
Well, not till the evening. No, he gave them letters to Johnny, and he asked him to post them. 4 of them there was.
The playing cards.
What'd you say?
Never mind. Go on, Mrs. Glibber.
Well, Carlo told him not to post them all at the same time, and not anywhere in the district. He gave Johnny £3, he did. Johnny's got a married sister what lives at Maidstone. He gave them to her to post. It was all addressed to Mr. Quexley.
I know. Could I have the Black Sam bomber?
Well, I suppose it's all right. I've got it in the back room. I'll fetch it. I can't get about very quickly these days. It's me arthritis.
It's beginning to gel, Paula.
They're going to get a shock at the Home Office.
Do 'em good.
Talk about killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I bet you never expected the Home Office job would link up with this, did you?
And Mrs. Glibber's coming back.
Oh, here it is. It don't look all that valuable, do it?
Well, it depends on what's inside. Let's open it carefully, Paula.
Packed full of cotton wool. And there's something hard in the middle.
A child's glass marble.
Hello, Paula. Where's the governor?
I don't know. Playing marbles with the Home Secretary, probably.
Doing what? Oh, I get it. You're talking about the marble in the Zambomba thing. Has the governor found out what it means?
I wouldn't know. He's being a bit oysterish.
Well, he likes springing a surprise. It gives him his kicks.
And I've got a little surprise I'm going to spring on him.
Well, it's difficult to surprise the governor. He usually knows all about it already. Oh, here he is now.
Hello, you two. Gossiping as usual?
I've got Nichols' report on the Quexleys.
It doesn't matter now. You'll never believe what I'm going to tell you.
You know.
About the Quexley we wanted, yes. He's been working as a rather obscure civil servant in a department of the Home Office.
Bang goes the little surprise, Paula.
Eh?
Oh, never mind. Have you seen this Quexley?
No, he's away on leave. A walking tour in Scotland or something. It just shows how these government departments are run. Most of the staff don't even know the name of the chap along the passage or what his job is.
What's Quexley's job?
From what I can gather, he initialed forms which were then passed on for somebody else to read. However, he doesn't matter very much.
But I thought he was the man to whom Carlo Rossi intended to send the cards.
Oh, yes, he was, but he doesn't know anything about it. By the way, how did you get back from Larkminster, Tinker? Managed to hire a car?
I hitchhiked. The vicar's daughter gave me a lift to London, and she did have the right legs.
Fine.
Well, what's the next move, Gov?
Masterly inactivity until this evening.
And what happens then?
We tie everything up neatly and call it a day. Quite a nice problem it was, really, when you come to think of it.
Why aren't we stopping at the pub, Gov?
Out you get.
You're too late for a drink. It's closed.
There's still a light in the bar. Perhaps we can get the landlord to open up for us.
I do wish I knew what you were up to.
Same here.
Who is it?
Good evening, Mr. Jasper. Remember me, Sexton Blake?
I'm sorry, sir. We're closed.
I don't want to drink. I just want to ask you a question. Can we come in?
Well, yes, come in, sir. Well, what was the question, sir?
Mr. Jasper, what have you done with Carlo Rossi?
I don't know what you mean, sir.
Perhaps I should have said the body of Carlo Rossi.
Mr. Blake, this is my home, and I...
Keep your hand away from that drawer, Jasper. This gun is small, but it's very effective.
I tell you I know...
I'll do the talking. You're a member of the Cosa Nostra, better known perhaps as the Mafia. So was Rossi, until he got sick of all the killings and the violence.
What a blaze are you talking about? I know nothing about the
The
Mafia.
Mafia don't like any of their members getting out. They liked it less in Rossi's case because he knew the name of the man who was head of the British organization.
All this has got nothing to do
And
with...
that is you, Jasper.
You're talking nonsense.
Rossi came to England with the Mafia hot on his heels. He was badly frightened, but he was determined to get his information into the right hands. During the war, he worked with the resistance movement in France. The liaison officer was a man named Quexley. Not the Quexley you murdered. Another Quexley.
Another Quexley?
Rossi's code name was the Sin Eater, and communications were written in code on playing cards. Rossi knew that anything he sent on playing cards to Quexley, particularly if it included the name Sin Eater, would be understood. But he sent them to the wrong Quexley. That was a shock for you, Jasper, when this one showed me the cards in the bar. But you didn't know I'd taken them. You were called away to the other bar, and when you came back, I'd gone. You shot poor Quexley, but it wasn't until you couldn't find the cards that you realized that I'd got them.
There's not a word of truth in all this.
You sent those two thugs to get the cards from me. Steve Munt's been pulled in, and he'll talk. So will Ted when the police get hold of him.
You can't connect me with any thugs, Mr. Blake. I don't know anything about them. Now, will you go, please? I'm tired and I want to go to bed.
Open the door, Tinker.
Right, Gov.
I'm sure Inspector Hedges is getting tired of waiting. The police are going to tear this place apart, Jasper, and there's nothing you can do about it because they have a special Home Office warrant. I'll carry on, Inspector.
Right, sir.
I'll keep an eye on Mr. Jasper right here.
Oh, dear. I don't know how I'm going to get through a day's work tomorrow.
Today?
You would come, Paula.
Well, I wasn't going to miss anything.
You didn't. Anyway, there's enough on Jasper to keep him out of circulation for a good many years. And we've got a list of all the mafia who have infiltrated into the country. That'll please the Home Office.
And the body of Carlo Rossi in that barrel in the cellar. How did you know Rossi would be there?
No, I didn't. It was a long shot. He must have decided to come down and keep an eye on Jasper himself. Or more likely, he was brought down for Jasper to question by one of the mafia who were trailing him.
Well, the Home Office asked you to find Carlo Rossi, and you found him.
They were getting worried about the mafia starting up in England in a big way. Rumors had reached them that Rossi knew the man in charge. That's why they asked me to look for him.
What put you wise about Jasper, Gov?
Rossi.
How?
The marble in the Black Zambomba.
How the dickens does that link up with Jasper?
But Jasper in French signifies marble. Strictly speaking, jasper, to face with marble. Like a fireplace or something like that. It was the nearest Rossi could get, but it was good enough.
Oh. I do hope we haven't got a busy day. I feel like sleeping for a week.
You needn't come in till after lunch. Think you can look after anything urgent?
Oh, look, Gov. I want to rest too. I've got to be freshened this evening.
Why particularly?
I've got a date.
Not with the vicar's daughter.
Why not? She's an absolute smasher. She's got everything.
Including a vicar for a father. All right, good luck, old chap.
That story in our Sexton Blake series was called The Sin Eater and was written by Donald Stewart. William Franklin was Sexton Blake, David Gregory, Tinker, and Heather Chasen, Paula. Mr. Jasper, the landlord of the Morning Lark, was played by James Beck, Daniel Quexley and Ted Clint by Henry Stamper, Inspector Hedges by Ronald Badley, Steve Munt and the police sergeant, Norman Mitchell, and Agnes Glibber was played by Betty Hardy. The series was devised for radio by Philip Ridgway and produced by Alistair Scott Johnston.
Tea House Detective. This episode is called Body in the Barge, created by Baroness Emma Orksey, who also created The Scarlet Pimpernel. She also wrote Lady Molly of Scotland Yard in 1910. Tea House Detective first appeared in print in 1909 as The Old Man in the Corner. First radio appearance as the Tea House Detective in 1998, played by stage actor Bernard Hepton. His partner or sidekick was Polly, a journalist who asks for his help in solving crimes and buys him tea and cakes, played by Susan Burden in the radio series. Each story was independent and set inside a tea house at ABC, Lyons, Tea House in the Strand in London, where the Tea House Detective ponders his cases.
I've been looking for you.
Yes?
Everywhere. Where have you been?
Listen.
Everywhere.
Polly.
I thought you died. I thought... Oh, run over.
Ah, yes.
Crushed beneath wheels.
Yes, I think we've established your concern.
What?
Now, if you wouldn't mind.
You want me to go away? What's the matter? I'll get you a tea, shall I?
No.
Would you like a donut?
No, thank you.
An eclair?
Now, what am I? A schoolboy whose moods may be purchased by confectionery? Haven't you got reporting to be doing?
I see.
You see. I doubt it, though we may hope. How may I put it in words you will understand? Leave me alone, will you?
Yes, sir?
I require lunch. Yes?
It is quite expensive, sir.
You think I look like a tramp and I can't pay?
No, sir.
I can pay. Is your tongue fresh?
I've never had any complaints.
A plate of tongue, then. And I'll wash it down with a bottle of Bollinger.
Bollinger, sir?
Tongue and champagne. Ideal for a celebration. I'm on my way to meet a man who is going to feel disposed to share his huge fortune with me.
Oh, congratulations.
So I thought, why not?
Indeed.
Your name?
Tremble.
I'm Kershaw. William Kershaw. Bring a glass for yourself, Tremble.
You're very generous.
And my umbrella. My gap. Drenched to the ribs.
I'll put it in the back parlour.
If you wouldn't mind.
My pleasure.
What's wrong with him?
He came in and sort of slumped down. I went up to him.
Yes?
This is after half an hour. I was acting on orders.
The manageress.
I told him he couldn't sit here all day without partaking of refreshment.
And how did he take it?
Well, that's it. Normally at that point he treats me to a mouthful.
Surely not.
Oh, he dresses it up. You can't fault him for politeness, but underneath he's having a go.
But this time?
But this time, and I won't pretend it hasn't worried me, he apologised.
He
says he's sorry, he isn't feeling so good.
My God.
So I left him. I'm not throwing him out. Let her do it.
She'll deal with me if she tries. I'll get some tea, and what's your special today?
Lemon love cake.
Right. I'll see what I can do.
I wake up this morning, Tremble. I wake up. I go downstairs. Wife's still asleep. And there on the mat, a letter. And in that letter, news that will change my life. Here's to tramps. Cheers.
Cheers.
Dear Sir, referring to my letter of a few weeks ago, I wish to inform you that the Zarko Silo will touch at Tilbury on Tuesday next, the 10th. If you like, you may meet me at Fenchurch Street Station, in the first-class waiting room, in the late afternoon. Since I surmise that after 30 years' absence my face may not be familiar to you, I may as well tell you that you will recognize me by a heavy Astrakhan coat, which I shall wear, together with a cap of the same. You may then introduce yourself to me, and I will personally listen to what you may have to say.
Won't you have some tea? I'm worried about you. What is it? Is it something you're working on? Is it a case? Tell me.
What would be the point?
It is a case, then.
Yes.
Tell me. Tell me.
Porter, sir.
Luggage in the cab, please.
Sir.
Anywhere I can find a glass of wine?
Refreshment room.
Still open?
Oh, yes, sir.
You'll take a sixpence.
Thank you.
Tell the cab to wait.
Sir.
Two men arrange to meet. It is a bitter night in December. London at her least lovely. An impenetrable fog emanating from the frozen river. That night, one of them will not return home.
Go on, madam.
He went out yesterday afternoon.
And where was he going?
To meet someone.
Who?
Someone he knew.
Name of this person?
Francis Smethurst. They were going to meet at Fenchurch Street Station at about 6 o'clock. That's what he told me.
And what does your husband look like?
Well, he's not exactly. He looks like a tramp. Long beard, which he doesn't look after. His hair's long.
Wearing?
Some old grey trousers and a black jacket.
And you've not seen him since?
No.
And your husband's name, madam?
William Kershaw.
I feel that I have entered a completely darkened room.
Why?
For the first time in my life.
You look frightened.
Yes. Yes, I suppose I am.
Call me to me, darling, for me heart's so bamboo.
My wife.
My arms are open
Rest in
wide.
peace. Would never touch our lick on. Many an occasion we would have words on this subject.
George, give us an hand to pull this off.
She says to me, look at you. And drunk, so I says.
Are they sly, these?
Well, they'll be rotten. So I says, hey, what is that stink?
Spuds go like that.
You mad? That's a stink. It ain't spuds.
Oh, I can't smell nothing.
Kiss your lamp.
What's that?
It ain't no spud.
A dead one or what?
Good boots,
George. Cover the bloody thing.
I think my beer's coming up.
Cover it, George.
His throat had been cut, and after 3 weeks in the barge...
How was his wife?
They didn't let us see him. There was no point. His ring, his watch, and his pocketbook told her all she needed to know. Now, Smethurst was arrested.
Why?
Because he was the last person to see Kershaw alive, and because he had a motive. Here, I made a copy.
I may add that your preposterous demands for money are wholly unwarrantable. I have already helped you quite as much as you deserve. However, for the sake of old times, I am willing to once more let you impose upon my good nature. After 30 years' absence, I now wish to return to the old country. But remember, I am the last man in the world to submit to blackmail. I am, sir, yours truly, Francis Smethurst.
Blackmail?
Yes.
What?
I've been over this, Polly. You think I haven't? Over and over.
Perhaps there's something
more... My universe, the governing principle of my universe, is not perhaps.
I see.
There are those who have faith and those who doubt. I am neither.
You haven't told me everything.
But what I know is of no use. I attended court. Now, there must have been something from the beginning.
That attracted you?
Yes.
I don't see the problem.
You will.
Mrs. Kershaw, would you tell the court the occasion on which you last saw your husband?
I was in bed early. He came in. He was holding a letter.
A letter?
He was smiling.
We're rich.
Are we, dear? How do you measure it?
Huh?
Compared to whom?
We're very rich.
You are holding a letter.
This is it. Our passport to wealth.
Best let me read it.
Have I, mentioned this Smethurst before?
Someone from your past?
No, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. 30 years ago, I shared lodgings with 2 others down in Clerkenwell. Fellow named Dodds, and the other...
Smethurst?
Yes. Dodds was a gambler. Horses. One day he runs home. His horse has come in. Jackpot.
And again the court were invited to imagine the dirty flat, the faces swollen with greed.
40 to 1. That little darling, 40 to 1.
How much?
5,000.
What are you going to do with it?
Spend it.
It's an idea, isn't it, Smethurst?
It's an idea.
Well, we wish you joy. We wish you long life and joy.
But Dodd's portion was to be neither joyful nor long-lived.
It was my husband found Dodds. He was dead. His money was gone, and Smethurst with it. After that, my husband heard nothing from Smethurst for several years, and then a letter arrived, from New York it was, asking my husband for a loan.
Your husband gave him money.
Well, lent it, he thought.
I mean, to a man whom the police had decided was the chief suspect in a murder case?
Yes. That's what my husband was like.
Go on.
The next he heard was a letter from Russia, Siberia. Smethurst was doing very nicely, trading in furs or something. He returned my husband's money and said that if he ever needed any help, he only had to ask.
And nobody was thinking about poor Dodds, then, with the smashed skull?
I suppose they weren't. By then, my husband had... It had turned around. He was the one who needed a loan.
A loan?
Yes, that's all it was.
And Mr. Smethurst understood it to be a loan, Mrs. Kershaw?
I don't know what he understood.
I'll tell you what he understood. He understood, as we would have understood, that your husband was blackmailing him. Told him, no doubt, that he would tell the police where Smethurst would be found. Your husband had seen a meal ticket, had seized it, for 30 years. Until that evening on December the 10th, when he met your husband and murdered him.
Then I don't understand.
What?
What it is that's worrying you.
Smethurst was released. The case collapsed.
He did it. He did do it. What was his defence?
What am I?
What do you mean?
What, Polly?
What
do I do?
You solve crimes. You find answers. You think.
Yes, I think. Well, my thoughts have failed me.
What is it?
Now listen to me. I feel as I'm in a foreign country where I can no longer understand the language, It's as though I can see people's mouths moving, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just a meaningless jabbering that fills the air.
Mr. Buckland, you were on duty as a porter at Fenchurch Street Station on the evening of December the 10th last, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you tell the court what you saw on that evening?
6 o'clock, the 505 from Tilbury comes in. A man calls me and tells me to find a cab for his luggage.
Could you describe this man?
Tall, wearing a fur coat and the same sort of hat.
A fur hat?
Yeah. Looked like a foreigner. Tall, like an army officer.
Do you see that man in court today?
Yes, sir. Over there.
May it be recorded the witness indicated the defendant, Francis Smethurst. Please continue.
So, I get him a cab, load his luggage on, and for which he gives me a sixpence. And he says he asked me, can he get a drink? Wine, he wanted. I show him the refreshment room, and off he goes.
Did he tell the cabby when he would return?
No, I got the impression he'd be right back.
But you were wrong. When did he come back?
9 o'clock. No, just before 9 o'clock. I was chatting with the cabbie when he comes back.
You are referring to the prisoner Smethurst?
Yeah.
At 6 o'clock, Smethurst departs and does not return until nearly 3 hours later. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you need a rest? Do you think...
You see, usually our custom, as it were, a certain puzzle is set, and after a cosy exchange of views, me somewhat patronizing but not unkind, and you earnest and intelligent, I spring it on you. The solution, puzzle solved, trick accomplished. You buy me a cake, it's a pleasant diversion.
What's wrong with that?
It isn't going to happen this time. I have tried to tell you. I have entered a different country, crossed over the border, and, Polly, there is nothing I recognize.
Let me help.
No.
I can't bear this. I can't bear to see you...
Defeated?
Unhappy.
You think I care about happiness? Another word. Meaningless.
No, it's not.
Meaningless.
Mrs. Graham, you were in the cafeteria of Fenchurch Street Station on the evening of December the 10th. Is that so?
Yes, I was.
Speak up.
I was there.
And you were having a cup of tea?
Yes.
And did you see the defendant?
Yes.
Please go on, Mrs. Graham.
Well, he came in and stood at the counter, ordered a drink, and then a man came in and went up to him.
So you could hear what was being said between these two men?
Oh, yeah.
Could you describe the other man?
Scruffy. One of those long beards. A bit like a tramp, really. So he says...
Court will note this tallies with the photograph we have of William Kershaw, as well as his wife's description. Do go on, Mrs. Graham. These two men were talking, yes?
I got the impression they were greeting each other, that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. The scruffy one says, you look well, or something like that.
And the prisoner, Mr. Smethurst, how did he react?
Not so pleased to see the other one. The scruffy one asked him for a drink, but he says, I've got a cab waiting, let's settle.
Let's settle?
And that's... They went out together then.
Thank you.
Sir Arthur? My lord? Mrs. Graham, how do you earn your living?
My living?
Your income. How do you earn your income?
I sew. I take in sewing. I wash.
Were you, and you'll excuse me if I'm wrong, but were you not earning your living on the evening of December the 10th in the refreshment room at Fenchurch Street?
No.
Did you not approach my client?
I might have asked him for the time.
No, Mrs. Graham. Did you approach him in your professional capacity?
I'm a respectable
You're
woman.
a prostitute, aren't you? And you were soliciting. Yes or no?
Mrs. Graham?
The barmaid in the refreshment room is prepared to sign an affidavit to the effect that she has many times seen you approaching men in and around the station. Are you a prostitute or are you not?
Yes. It doesn't mean that I'm
I
not...
have no further questions of this witness.
To show she was an unreliable witness? Was she telling the truth?
I don't know.
How did he get Smethurst off? It couldn't just have been that.
No. Oh, no. This was just the hors d'oeuvre. He had his alligator eye on a larger meal.
You are Edward Tremble, and you are an employee at the Torriani Hotel in Cooper Square, London. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the court when you first saw Mr. William Kershaw?
December the 10th.
You're sure of that?
Of course I'm sure. It's my mother's birthday.
And how old is she?
She's 82.
82? You must be very proud of her.
Sir Arthur...
Very good, my lord. I just wanted to establish that Mr. Tremble is very clear in his mind the date on which he saw Mr. Kershaw. And, of course, since it was the birthday of his dear mother, he would remember it.
Very good.
As indeed we all would. Now, what was the weather like?
It was raining.
Sir Arthur, if you'll bear with me, Your Honour. And so, on this day of torrential rain and family celebration, a man, let's just say that for the moment, entered your hotel, and what happened?
He had something to eat and a bottle of champagne, which he shared with me.
A bottle of champagne? What time was this?
About 4 5 o'clock, something like that. He said he was celebrating. He was going to meet someone who would make him rich.
Could you describe the man?
He looked hard up. He didn't look as though he could afford a visit to a barber. You know the sort. He was polite, but he looked hard up. He paid, no problem.
And he gave you his name?
William Kershaw.
And then?
We drank the wine. He asked me to put his umbrella somewhere to dry.
It was wet because it was raining, Your Honour.
Thank you. I put it in the back parlour. An hour later he left, but he forgot the umbrella.
He left it?
Yes.
At the hotel on December the 10th?
Yes.
Was that the last time you saw him?
No.
Now think very carefully. The life of my client depends on it. On the 10th of December, he visited your hotel, and when he left, he forgot his umbrella. The next day, or rather the day after that, Mrs. Kershaw reported her husband missing. And 2 weeks after that, December the 26th, 2 Thames lightermen discovered a body on their barge, which Mrs. Kershaw identified from possessions on the body as that of her husband. Now, Mr. Tremble, when do you say you saw Mr. Kershaw for the second time?
16th of December.
Are you absolutely certain of that?
Sure.
The court will want to know, how can you be so certain?
Because the decorators were in the hotel. The back parlour, we were having it papered, you know, and I removed as well as furniture before they began this umbrella.
Mr. Kershaw's umbrella?
Yes. I checked my diary. They started on the 15th, and it was the next day that he came in.
Remember me?
Oh, yes, sir. You're the gentleman likes his tongue.
I've come for my umbrella.
I thought you might return. I kept it in the bureau for you. Now, where did I put it? Here it is. And did you get what you were after, sir? The fortune, the cash prize.
I can't complain. Here, a guinea for you.
Oh, Mr. Kershaw, you are most generous, sir.
And who was the next witness?
Smethurst himself.
Describe him.
Like a seal. Prussian officer type. Tall. World-conquering look. Unblinking stare. No hair on his head. On his chin.
An imposing figure?
In the dock, yes, perhaps.
You are Francis Smethurst, and until lately you were the director of a fur trading company in East Siberia. Is that so?
That is so.
Could you tell the court your connection with William Kershaw?
I swear I never knew him. I never met him. I have had no dealings with him.
Let us then go to the testimony of his wife, Mrs. Eileen Kershaw. Her husband told her that some 30 years ago he shared lodgings with yourself and another man named Dodds, and that at that time you were using the name of Barker. Is that correct?
No, it is not correct.
And further, he told his wife that his flatmate Dodds was murdered, and his recent gambling winnings were stolen, and that at that time you, that is Barker, fled the country.
I could not comment on any such events. Certainly it was not me. That is all I can tell you.
In your own words, Mr. Smethurst, in your own time, would you tell the court the events of that afternoon and evening of December the 10th?
I had landed at Tilbury Dock and took the 5:05 train to Fenchurch Street Station. I'll have a glass of port.
Yes, sir. Cold out, isn't it?
Not as cold as where I've come from.
Oh? Hello. Would you like to buy me a drink?
Leave the gentleman, Aggie.
It's only a drink.
No,
It's a drink, that's all.
not for me.
Bit of conversation. Everyone needs a friend, don't they?
I went outside.
You left the refreshment room?
Yes. I find such encounters depressing.
But you are not to be left in peace?
No. Perhaps it was something about me. These little signs. My astrakhan, perhaps, made them think I was a wealthy foreigner. Fair game. Anyway, I was not, as you say, to be left in peace.
Good evening to you.
Evening.
Kershaw, the name?
I've got to catch a cab.
Yes, I wouldn't normally be bothering you, my friend.
If you'll...
It's just would you Would you spare me 5 minutes?
There's no...
No, sir, I am not begging. You understand? I am Kershaw, late of His Majesty's Infantry, where I served for 30 years. Does the name Rorke's Crossing mean anything to you?
No.
I took a Zulu spear, sir, in the leg. I've served my country, and how am I treated? Can I tell you? A child abandoned on church steps by its mother was no worse treated than me by the country I have loved and served all these years. Well, I am not begging. Would you spare me 10 minutes of your time, sir?
What is it you want?
Nothing, sir. Visit my house. See the empty cupboards. My own children, hungry. Be my witness. Then, if you judge me worthy, why, I will be forced to accept your generosity.
I have a cab. All right.
Follow, sir. Follow. And then you can tell me.
So you followed this man out of the station?
Yes.
And he told you his name was Kershaw?
That's right.
Could you describe him?
Scruffy, dirty coat, very long, unkempt beard, same long hair. The whole appearance. He looked like a tramp.
Where did he lead you?
He said once or twice, just up here, it's just up here. And then I turned round and he'd gone.
He'd left you?
In the fog. I had no idea where I was. For 2 hours I wandered around. In fact, I've no idea how I got my way back to the station. Heard a train whistle, trusted to luck. Fortunately for me, my cab was still waiting for me.
So, why would this man leave you?
I assumed the whole thing was a pack of lies. I hadn't coughed up, and there was no home for me to see, so he...
And you didn't know him?
No, I'd never seen him before.
You believed him?
That wasn't the question. I waited, hoping that... I kept going back, tracing. Man meets man, Kershaw and Smethurst. How? We don't know. And why? We don't know. Kershaw disappears. 6 days later, he reappears in an hotel. 3 weeks later, his body is found. So, Polly?
So, Kershaw was killed after the 16th?
Where was he then before the 16th?
Well...
It's the old game, isn't it, Polly? Logic says, I'll handle it. Like hell.
Wait. Smethurst kills Kershaw and puts his body in the barge.
Smethurst, you're saying, arranged to meet Kershaw in order to kill him?
Yes, to free himself from blackmail. What?
You say you didn't know Mr. Kershaw? No, that's right. But you'd arranged to meet him, hadn't you? No, I hadn't. You hadn't arranged to meet him? No. Then I am confused, because I have here a letter sent to Mr. Kershaw and signed by you. Yes, but may I just finish? In the letter you refer to your boat, which will, and I read, touch at Tilbury on Tuesday next, the 10th. I shall land there and immediately go up to London. And is that what you did? Yes, but... Is that what you did? Yes. You go on. If you like, you may meet me at Fenchurch Street Station in the late afternoon. And you did meet him there, didn't you? Didn't you? Yes. And you say you didn't know him? I didn't know him, that's correct. Whilst we have before us in your letter in black and white, quite clearly stated that you did know the man, that you were prepared to meet him, a meeting which duly took place. I didn't write these letters. What's your name? My name? Look, yes. Look at these letters. Yes. This isn't my handwriting. I swear I didn't write them.
No!
You see?
Did you believe him?
It wasn't a question of belief. What he said was confirmed by a handwriting expert. He hadn't written them.
Impossible!
Impossible actions do not occur in the field of the known.
No, please.
Our brains, isn't this the problem? Our brains always seek to remain with what they know. Poor brains.
I'm not staying here. I'm not. I'm not! Hello, is that Mrs. Eileen Kershaw? My name is Polly Burton. I'm a newspaper reporter. Yes, I wonder if I could come and visit you. Hmm? Well, because I would like to write about... I know, believe me, I would be very sensitive to... Good. Later this afternoon? 3? 5 o'clock is better. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
Smethurst.
Ah, yes.
Let me see.
Will we go somewhere?
In here?
No.
All right.
We'll walk.
All right. So how have you been keeping? How are things in Vladivostok?
We're not here for small talk.
As you wish.
I've paid you money, it seems, like all my life.
You could afford it. Do you ever think of Dodds? No. It's wrong to kill. Didn't they tell you that when you were a child?
I won't take morality lessons from you. Get to it, Kershaw. How much?
Have I been a weight on your back?
How much do you want?
Not very much.
Ah. We'll walk down to the river then, shall we? I'd rather we weren't seen together.
I've begun to look from the back of the mirror.
I've made an appointment.
Start the journey at the end. Is the darkness creative?
With Mrs. Kershaw.
Well, she'll tell you what you already know. I'm only interested in ignorance.
What do you mean?
What don't we know? What don't we know? What don't we know?
Why do you keep on saying that?
What we don't know is what we know. Our only certainty is ignorance. So...
We don't know who killed Kershaw.
Wait.
We don't know if Kershaw is dead.
Better.
A body was found. Its face too far gone. It may have been Kershaw, it may not have been.
Let us proceed deeper into the darkness. If it wasn't Kershaw, who would want us to think it was?
Kershaw's murderer.
We don't know if Kershaw has been murdered. You say. Or, put it another way, why would Kershaw's murderer go to the trouble of murdering someone else and making us believe it was Kershaw? Who would do this?
Kershaw?
And Kershaw was alive on the 16th. Appeared ostentatiously at an hotel waving guinea tips, trying to be remembered. In whose interest was this appearance later to be so tellingly testified to? By the manager of the hotel.
Smethurst. It got him off.
Oh, yes.
So, Kershaw and Smethurst are in league. Planned it together, the whole thing. Letters forged so that Mrs. Kershaw would think her husband had been contacted by Smethurst. The visits to the hotel. The dead body identified as Kershaw. Presumably Kershaw left the country, safe with his share of Smethurst's money. And...
Yes?
Why would Smethurst share anything at all with Kershaw?
No reason. All right. That little canter didn't get us very far, did it? The old game. We don't know if Kershaw is alive or dead. Now let's contemplate that area of darkness. I want to drown in it. Polly? You're looking despondent.
We don't know anything.
No.
We don't know what they said.
No.
We don't know where they walked.
Go on.
Nor what happened. Nor who died. Nor who came away afterwards.
What is the least likely? The least likely.
Why?
Because that is what happened.
Is this far enough?
Further.
It's cold by the river. Do you love the fog?
I would not be seen with you.
That's all right. I'm not affronted by your frankness.
So, here.
Mrs. Kershaw? Mrs. Kershaw? It's Polly Burton. Hello?
Tell me then, how much of my blood will it take to leave me alone?
What? Because you pay me to go dumb for you, to keep from telling the police that as a young man you smashed the skull of an innocent in order to provide yourself with a nest egg? Huh? Because of that? You paying me? You think you may despise the one who kept his silence. Silence is painful. Would you believe that on more than one occasion I would have forsaken money for the pleasure of seeing you hanged?
Blackmailer's justification. Don't preach to me, snake. I have my wallet. What do you want?
Polly.
Mrs.
Kershaw?
She wasn't there.
Didn't you ask anybody else?
A neighbour said a cab had come. She got into it. She had suitcases. She said there was a man in the cab.
Most likely this man was...
Her husband.
Least likely?
Smethurst.
Yes.
What?
What?
Smethurst?
If you asked her, the neighbour, for a description...
The man was in the back.
Tall, military gait, and a head without hair. You asked her, didn't you? You said, what sort of coat was he wearing? Polly?
She said it had a fur collar.
And a hat of the same. Astrakhan.
How did you know?
I asked myself what was the least likely.
You believe it was Smethurst? But we've been over this. The reappearance at the hotel. The letter. It couldn't have been Smethurst.
No. Well, that's right.
But you're saying it is. Is that... What are you saying?
Smethurst is dead.
What? When?
On the 10th of December.
No, I don't understand.
Kershaw and Smethurst meet at Fenchurch Street Station. The time and place agreed in Smethurst's letter.
But it was a forgery.
Wait. They meet. They walk down to the river. Smethurst has come to pay Kershaw off, but Kershaw wants something more than money. He wants Smethurst's life.
Blackmailer's justification. Don't preach to me, snake. I have my wallet. What do you want?
I've done enough.
What?
In my life. Never managed anything.
Am I responsible? You never were going to do anything.
I was going to be a doctor. I could have helped people.
Are you joking?
No. I am an able person.
What? Name one thing you can do. If it wasn't me, you'd have leached off someone else. You are a bloody parasite. You'd have spent your life drinking someone else's blood. What do you want? How much do you want? Then I can leave you.
See this? I sold the other equipment years ago, but I hung on to the scalpel. I hoped it would have a purpose.
Kershaw, you don't need that. I'm here to pay.
You asked me how much blood I want, didn't you? The answer? I want it all. Bleed away, and then I'll take everything.
That's impossible.
Yes. Why?
Smethurst is alive.
What else?
Kershaw is either dead or has disappeared.
Last seen?
16th of December.
Some sort of display, we thought, didn't we?
Well, all right, but Smethurst was seen. The station porter, the cabbie. He was seen getting into the cab. He was taken to his hotel.
What are we?
No, please,
A
don't.
tall man in an Astrakhan coat and a fur hat, walking with the upright gait of a guards officer, got into a cab and was taken to an hotel.
No. Smethurst was in the dock, defended by Sir Arthur Inglewood, photographed, seen by dozens, released. Broad daylight. Broad daylight.
Tell me, what did Smethurst look like?
Tall.
Upright gait.
Yes.
Hairless.
What exactly? What? No.
Kershaw meets Smethurst at Fenchurch Street Station. They walk by the river. He cuts his throat and, under the cover of the forgetful fog, drags his body onto a barge and there conceals his victim under a shroud of tarpaulin. But even now, he has not finished the desecration of this human being. He strips the body naked, exchanging his own rags for Smethurst's more worldly attire, including the bespoke hat and astrakhan coat. Such luxury in death has no purpose, eh, Polly? And the penultimate touch in this dismal metamorphosis? To leave on Smethurst's body his own watch, his ring, and his notebook. He knows that it is only by these possessions that the corrupt body will be identified. Finally, with the razor he has brought, he shaves himself, his head, his beard, and his eyebrows. He walks with an upright gait back to the station and gets in the cab that is still patiently waiting for him. He waits to be arrested.
What?
He knows he will be arrested, as Smethurst. He knows he will be the chief suspect. He expects it, and therefore must be confident that the case will collapse.
He visits the Torriani Hotel.
6 days after he has killed Smethurst.
But the waiter...
Yes?
The waiter saw Kershaw. You said Kershaw had shaved his hair and beard off, had assumed Smethurst's appearance, that he did this on the 10th of December, so how could the waiter have seen Kershaw on the 16th? Fast-growing beard?
In a sense. No doubt there is a toy shop in the area that sold a beard and wig to a tall, bald gentleman round about that time.
2 questions.
Yes?
When he said, in the dock, when Kershaw as Smethurst said that he didn't write the letters...
That was no more or less than the truth.
So the handwriting test he gave...
Proved he hadn't written them. Of course he hadn't. Smethurst had. Second question?
Mrs. Kershaw was in court. She'd have known it was her husband, wouldn't she?
Yes, bound to have done.
She was working with him? So...
When you rang her today...
It flushed her from cover. You wanted me to do that. You wanted... Why didn't you ask?
Polly, you are a proud member of an independent press. Since when would you take orders from...
All this despair you treated me to. All this dark night of the detective's soul. More staged feeling. I see. Thank you very much.
Sit down, please, Polly. Polly. You stayed with me. You drew near in my hour. Moral? Sometimes darkness may be our only light, but thank God for friends. And something else. A day entirely without cakes is a wasted day.
I'd better get some, then. Any particular...
Oh, no. You know me. Anything that defies gravity in its ability to support quantities of cream. Jam, sugar, anything along those lines.
Right. I'll see what I can do.
Thank you, Polly.
A Case for Dr. Morell was a 13-episode series which ran weekly in 1957 on the BBC Light programme from April 23 to July 16. This show is episode 1 of series 1. It was aired on the 23rd of April 1957. According to the author Ernest Dudley, the character began life in 1940 during World War II air raids, as he was trying to think up a different kind of detective while also providing a comic role for the actress Jane Graham, who was also his wife. The result, originally heard on the radio show Monday Night at 8, involved the acerbic criminal psychologist Dr. Morell and his eager but less than helpful secretary Miss Frail. In the 1957 series, Dr. Morell was played by the English comic actor Cecil Parker, and Sheila Sim played the long-suffering and devoted Miss Frail. In addition to radio plays, Dudley wrote a stage play as well as a number of novels and short stories featuring these characters. Audiences loved the opinionated and eccentric Morell, whose disdain for his loyal secretary was an extension of his general lack of regard for humanity. Unlike Sherlock Holmes, who based his analysis on physical clues left at the scene of the crime, Morell generally conducted his investigations via a series of interviews, although he sometimes included physical evidence in his analysis. He used his knowledge of criminal psychology to determine which of the suspects fit the psychological profile of the criminal. Often during the story, Miss Frail would irritate the doctor by interrupting him as he was conducting an experiment or testing some scientific theory. His solutions to the crimes, whether murder, blackmail, larceny or some other crime, were always based on psychology.
Yeah, about time this hotel got a new lift. I'm sure it's fate. Yeah, about time I got a new job, too. This musty old dump will send me nuts. Now, what's the number of Lady Portlock's room? 24. Yeah. Number 24. Morning, Lady Portlock. Yeah, still asleep, the old trout. Shall I draw the curtains, Lady Portlock? I hope it isn't too light for you. I brought you porridge, bacon, and eggs. Lady Portlock. Lummy, she's dead.
The BBC presents A Case for Dr. Morell. The first in a new series of half-hour adventures by Ernest Dudley, with Cecil Parker as the famous Dr. Morell and Sheila Sim as his secretary, Miss Frail. Episode 1, Alarm Call.
There is no doubt that the criminal is a split personality, his mind unbalanced as a result of subconscious forces which constantly urge him onwards towards self-destruction.
Dr. Morell.
What is it, Miss Shawcroft?
Can you repeat that last point? I'm afraid I missed it.
You keep on missing what I'm dictating.
I'm sorry, but I'm so tired. Working late last night and having to be here again at the crack of dawn.
I'm perfectly wide awake.
Well, it's all very well for you, Doctor. You're just a human dynamo.
Well, let us proceed. I must finish these notes today. It's most important.
I hope you aren't expecting me to work till midnight tonight.
Well, if necessary, why not?
Because if you're a machine, Doctor, I'm not. And if you think I can go on like this, slogging away till all hours, you've got another thing coming.
Miss Shawcroft.
I got here at 7 this morning, and you expect me to
In
go
point
on
of fact, Miss Shawcroft, you were 5 minutes late.
Listen to you. No wonder I'm the umpteenth secretary you've had since that Miss Frail left you. You're just not human, that's your trouble. Well, I am. I'm not made of clockwork, and I'm fed up with you treating me as if I was. So good morning to you, Dr. Morell, and goodbye.
Obviously suffering from a persecution complex. Now, where are those notes I was checking? Here they are. Mm-hmm. Oh, doubtless that will be Miss Shawcroft returning to apologize. I suppose under the circumstances I shall have to accede to her plea to be reinstated. So you've changed your mind?
Hello, Dr. Morell.
Miss Frail.
Did you think it was someone else?
I was expecting Miss Shawcroft returning to finish her work. Won't you come in?
Oh, I'm so glad you found somebody who also doesn't mind working all hours.
Yes. We'll go to the study.
You're sure I'm not disturbing you?
Indeed, no. I'm eager to know to what I owe this unexpected pleasure. Please go in. Sit down.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, I was under the impression that you were happily employed in Bournemouth.
Oh, no, I've left Mrs. Padmore. She's gone to live in Dorset with a widowed sister.
You mean you've come to ask if you can return to me in your former employment?
Oh, no. I'm sure you're Miss Shawcroft. Did you say her name was? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure she's taking care of you very well.
Yes, quite.
No, Doctor, it's Baroness Beauville. She's dead.
Whom did you say?
She lives at the Wigmore Hotel just down the road. I worked there as secretary to the manager.
So near Miss Frail, and you hadn't been to see me?
Oh, I'm sorry, but I haven't been there long, and we've been awfully busy. But about Baroness Beauville, look, could I tell you on the way?
You want me to come to the hotel?
Yes, that's why I rushed round to see you. Her death is a bit of a shock. Shall I get your hat and coat?
That's very kind of you.
I haven't forgotten where you keep them.
I'm gratified to know that you cherish some memories of me.
Here you are. Now, if we could hurry.
Thank you. So you're at the Wigmore Hotel?
Yes. Frankly, I don't care for it overmuch.
Don't you, Miss Frail?
Oh, could we please hurry, Dr. Morell?
But of course, my dear Miss Frail, certainly. I mustn't keep you waiting.
This is the Wigmore Hotel reception. Very good, sir. I'll send the papers up to you at once.
If anyone wants me, I shan't be available for half an hour.
Very good, Mr. Winter.
When will I be here? Miss Frail's been gone about 10 minutes. Ah,
This is Dr. Morell, Mr. Winter.
I'm so glad you've come.
Only too happy to oblige, Miss Frail.
We'll go up to the Baroness's suite at once, Doctor. Miss Frail has put you in the picture.
Yes, Mr. Winter. I've told him what's happened.
It's on the second floor. I'm afraid the lift's a bit antiquated. It was a new floor waiter who made the sad discovery. He says he went into Baroness Beauville's suite by mistake, and...
What time was this?
About 7:30. I went up immediately, of course. The Baroness Beauville had obviously been dead some time. Heart attack, I suppose.
Oh, poor thing.
Here we are. Miss Frail, Doctor. I'll lead the way. Have you informed the Baroness's companion, Miss Frail? Mademoiselle, her name eludes me for the moment.
Mademoiselle Rollin. No, I must do that.
I'll phone her at her flat. Well, here we are. I locked the door, naturally. This is the sitting room. The bedroom's through here. And the Baroness was found exactly as you see her now.
Oh, dear.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I see. As you surmise, Mr. Winter, she's been dead for several hours.
Heart attack, of course.
That is a matter which the post-mortem will decide. These appear to be sleeping tablets by her bedside.
The bottle's half empty, and the top's been left off.
I had observed that.
Doctor, you don't mean that it's...
It's what, Mr. Winter?
You don't think it's suicide, Dr. Morell?
Not necessarily.
Oh, you think she may have taken an overdose of these tablets accidentally?
I say that it is not necessarily suicide, Miss Frail.
Oh, I see.
Thank heavens for that.
Why should you seem so pleased?
I'm afraid I was thinking of the scandal attached to the hotel. I'm sorry to appear so callous.
Well, it's your duty to have your hotel's good name at heart.
Well, that's why Mr. Winter sent for you.
Well, these tablets are doubtless of the barbiturate class.
I know Baroness Beauville didn't sleep very well.
The effect of a small dose of barbiturates are unharmful, but the deceased's external symptoms suggest a coma which could have been induced by an excess of the drug.
This glass has some milk in it.
Well, doubtless she took her sleeping tablets in it. Nothing has been touched, Mr. Winter?
Nothing. But if it's an accident,
Shall I answer it?
Thank you, Miss Frail.
Oh, I'd better pick it up with a handkerchief.
Well, of course, if it makes you feel any happier.
Hello?
Baroness Beauville, your alarm call.
Oh, it isn't the Baroness, but thank you.
The Baroness asked to be called at 8 a.m. It's 8 o'clock now.
Oh, it's only the switchboard, Doctor. Baroness Beauville's alarm call.
Shall we go back to the sitting room?
Yes.
Very well.
The Baroness? Oh, what happened?
This is Mademoiselle Rollin.
Monsieur Winter, is she...
This is Dr. Morell. I'm afraid that the Baroness...
I must go to her. She's dead. I know she's dead. Oh, what an awful shock for her.
Will she be all right, Doctor?
She is best left alone in there. For the moment...
What is it?
Oh, this French novel here. Open on the table. These sentences penciled underneath. Et maintenant, la dernière de mes amis est partie. La vie est vide. Je reste seul, triste et seul.
And now, the last of my good friends has departed. Life is empty. Only I remain, sadly alone.
Brilliant translation, Miss Frail. How should I manage without your invaluable help?
Oh, Dr. Morell, it's nothing.
I noticed that the book is inscribed to Anthony Winter. Any relation of yours, Mr. Winter?
I am Anthony Winter.
You knew the Baroness well? The inscription is worded with some affection.
I met her in Geneva. She stayed at the same hotel where I was studying the hotel business.
I see.
As a matter of fact, she helped me to get this job as assistant manager here. She happened to know one of the directors.
I understand. I wonder if I might have a word with the waiter who discovered the body.
Of course. I'll find him at once and send it along to you.
Thank you.
Oh, poor thing. Are you all right, Mademoiselle Rollin? I had a strange foreboding when I left her last night. Foreboding?
What time did you leave?
Just before she retired to bed. About 8:45. I prepared her milk, set her alarm clock for 8 a.m., as usual, and left her reading.
Would that be the alarm clock that was by her bedside?
But yes.
You omitted to notice that it has stopped at 3 minutes past 9 precisely, so that it must have failed to ring as you set it.
But it's never gone wrong before.
Doctor, what time did the Baroness die last night?
I should estimate at between 10:30 and 11 o'clock.
Oh, I just wondered if it might have been at the same time as the clock stopped.
It is all so strange. My premonition, the clock stopping, and then early this morning I knew something was wrong. That was why I hurried here.
Well, Mr. Winter was going to telephone you.
You want to see me? You are the waiter who found Baroness Beauville dead?
Yeah, of course. I never knew it was her then. I thought it was somebody else.
How did you come to make the error?
Well, you see, I'm a bit new round here. I was supposed to take Lady Portlock's breakfast in.
Who had the dog?
Yeah, a sloppy-looking thing that scratches the paint everywhere. And then I got her suite mixed up with this one, that's all. Number 24. Morning, Lady Portlock. Still asleep, the old trout. Shall I draw the curtains, Lady Portlock? Yeah, I hope that isn't too light for you. I brought you porridge, bacon and eggs. Lady Portlock. What? Lummy, she's dead.
It must have been something of a shock for you.
Oh, yeah, it certainly gave me a turn. Anyway, I rushes off to find Mr. Winter.
No one saw you come in? No one saw you go out?
No.
What is the number of Lady Portlock's room?
Why, it's,
34, Dr. Morell.
Yeah, that's it. It's on the floor above.
And you mistook this suite for hers?
I know, it's, well, just one of them mental tricks.
I understand.
Well, will that be all, sir?
You may go.
Thanks.
Dr. Morell, I have just thought of something.
What is it, mademoiselle?
This book. It was the one the Baroness was reading.
I had already noticed it.
But you have seen where it is open. It has been underlined in pencil. Et maintenant, la dernière de mes amies est partie.
I know, yes, I know. Miss Frail very kindly translated.
Then, do you see the significance of it?
Not especially.
Well, what is it, mademoiselle?
But do you not know? Baroness Beauville has been very depressed these last few days, ever since she received news of her brother's death in California. He was her last surviving relative. Don't you see, Doctor?
Oh, you think that was what she meant when she underlined that in the book?
That is exactly what I mean. I'm sure she did it deliberately.
Dr. Morell.
If you will take a glance, Miss Frail, you will see that there are many other passages in this book similarly marked.
Oh, may I look, Mademoiselle Roland?
Of course.
Why, yes. Yes, this page is marked and something underlined here.
I am sure with your excellent command of the language, you will agree that these other marked passages have no significance.
La maison est tranquille maintenant. Le soir descend. Yes, it's obviously just something she marked for reasons of her own.
A form of eccentricity in which many readers indulge.
It is true the Baroness was becoming a little eccentric. Now, I'm sorry that I have been rather sharp with her lately.
Ah, well, old people can become an irritation.
Ah, but one should not let them get on one's nerves. Only, I try to be so businesslike myself.
I know. I once heard the Baroness saying to Mr. Winter how very efficient you were.
Thank you. But I should not have overlooked the fact that she was old. Her mind was a little woolly.
Well, I'm sure you looked after her very well.
Ah, I should have been more even-tempered. But my nerves have been a little on edge. Oh, poor Baroness.
So, Dr. Morell, it seems that it was an accident, all right. You see, Mademoiselle Roland, Mr. Winter was a little worried, too, that it was, that the Baroness...
I am positive that she did not take her own life.
How do you know?
When Baroness Beauville found that her alarm clock had stopped so that she couldn't be sure of waking at her usual time, she asked the switchboard to give her an alarm call. She would hardly have gone to that trouble if she was about to commit suicide.
Of course. It was an accident. That's what you mean, isn't it, Doctor? She took a second lot of sleeping tablets, forgetting that she'd taken some before.
It was not an accident, either.
What? But it must have been.
Never in all my experience have I known anyone to take an overdose of sleeping tablets by mistake. It is a popular notion, but in fact it is invariably a premeditated act.
But you just said it wasn't suicide.
Quite, Miss Frail.
Then, if it wasn't an accident, and she didn't take her own life...
One other conclusion only remains. Murder.
Murder?
But this This is madness. Who would want to murder her?
Dr. Morell.
What is it?
Listen. There's someone in the next room. I can hear moving about, as if it is somebody. Doctor, it can't be.
The Baroness? It would be most interesting, not to say a miracle.
Oh, I'm frightened. Who can it be, Doctor?
One way to answer that question is to go and see.
Doctor?
Yes, Miss Frail?
What? You don't know who it may be.
I find your concern for my welfare quite touching.
There is someone. Don't go in there, Doctor.
It would appear to be unnecessary. Whoever it is coming out here.
Ah, there you are.
Oh, Mr. Winter. We thought it was...
Why, did I startle you?
Oh, we heard someone in there.
Well, I thought I heard the sound of somebody myself as I passed the bedroom door in the corridor. I went in, but it wasn't anything. Forgive me if I scared you.
There is always a natural explanation for what might appear to be supernatural.
I met the waiter. I hope you got all you wanted out of him, Dr. Morell.
He was most informative.
Good. I asked him to bring some coffee.
You're very kind.
Thank you. Mr. Winter, I'm afraid that...
What is it? Has something happened?
Oh, it's too dreadful. The Baroness, Dr. Morell thinks that she was murdered.
What?
I don't think, Miss Frail. I know.
Well, this is simply ghastly. What do we do?
Telephone the police.
The police? But, well, I mean, how do you know it's murder? Who did it? Come in.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but...
Oh, what is it?
Well, you did say coffee for 4, didn't you?
I told you there were 4 of us.
Well, I'm very sorry, sir, but I'm a bit confused. The shock, I still haven't got over seeing her.
Oh, yes, all right. Get the coffee, will you?
Yes, sir, right away, Mr. Winter.
Just a moment.
Yes, sir?
Perhaps you would take me down in the lift.
Yes, sir.
If you'll forgive me for a few moments, I want to speak to reception.
Of course, Doctor. We'll wait here.
Shall I come with you, Doctor?
I think I can manage, Miss Frail.
Well, the lift's this way, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, this is a fine carry-on, isn't it, Doctor? Poor old girl. Fancy a thing like that happening to her.
In the midst of life, we are in death.
Eh? Oh, yeah. Here, I don't mind telling you something.
Don't you?
You see, I'm a bit worried.
In what way?
Well, I'm afraid Mr. Winter suspects me of having bumped her off or something.
Whatever makes you think that?
Well, you know what suspicious minds people have, and he wouldn't mind getting one in at me.
You mean he has a motive for revenge?
Well, I knew him at the job he had before he come here.
You were both employed at the same hotel?
Yeah, Geneva, in Switzerland.
Yes, sir.
The Baroness stayed there, too, for a bit. But as I was saying about Mr. Winter, there was some funny business at this other place, and he left.
What do you mean by funny business?
Well, I don't know exactly. It was all hushed up. But I do know he went all of a sudden. Here, I'll press the lift button, sir. Oh, I didn't notice the lift was here all the time. Right, Doctor.
Thank you.
What's happened?
It would appear that there is no lift.
Blimey. Well, you might have fallen clean down the shaft.
That was rather what I was thinking.
I knew this would happen. I kept on telling them this old lift's a death trap. Well, the doors opened all right, sir. So I thought the lift was there. Oh, that put me in a cold sweat.
Never mind. It's only a matter of a few stairs down. I'll walk.
Well, you're a cool customer, Doctor, and no mistake. I better go and tell Mr. Winter before there really is an accident. You might have been killed.
Is something wrong?
Oh, you're there, sir. I didn't hear you.
What's the matter, Dr. Morell?
Nothing serious yet.
It's this blooming... Oh, it's the lift, sir.
Yes.
Well, I pressed the button and the doors opened, like you see, and Dr. Morell was about to step in.
Good.
Only there was no lift.
Good heavens, Dr. Morell. Why, you might have fallen to your death.
It is quite a drop.
I'm most terribly sorry.
Well, it's so old, Mr. Winter. I've complained about it 2 or 3 times.
All right, leave it to me.
Yes, sir.
Go along and get that coffee.
Very good, sir.
I'll continue on my way.
This is most distressing. I can't tell you how it's upset me.
It might have upset me.
Dr. Morell, I came after you because... Well, that is to say...
Your intuition warned you that something like this might happen?
Not that exactly. There was something I wanted to tell the waiter, but it's completely escaped my mind.
Then it couldn't have been very important, could it?
I'm afraid this business about Baroness Beauville is rather shaking me. My head's spinning round.
I understand.
And now this lift business. Oh, excuse me a moment. Dr. Morell.
Yes?
I just wanted to make sure that waiter wasn't hanging about trying to listen.
You appear to have something on your mind.
Perhaps I shouldn't mention this, but...
Whenever anybody says that to me, it inevitably means that they should and will.
Yes, of course, you're right. It's about the waiter.
He seems to be finding himself curiously involved with disaster.
Not a very good type. It was the manager who took him on, and I didn't like to say what I knew about him.
What did you know about him?
I recognized him when he applied for the job. He was at the same hotel I was at before I came here.
At Geneva, in Switzerland?
Yes. Well, how did you know?
Well, he happened to pass on that information to me just now.
Did he? Did he happen to mention that he was kicked out because one of the residents complained about him? That he'd stolen some money from her bedroom?
I rather fancy that had eluded his memory.
I'll bet it had. Although, I must admit, nothing was proved against him. The woman was an eccentric and may have made it all up. That's why I kept quiet when he came here for a job.
Well, that was very generous-minded of you.
But he's a shifty-eyed specimen, and not even a very good waiter. What else did he have to say?
Well, his story was exactly the reverse of yours. According to him, it was you who left under a cloud.
He told you that? Well,
don't let it concern you unduly. I've already dismissed it from my mind. It has no bearing on the present situation.
Yes, that's all very well, but...
You can explain the matter to the manager and leave him to take whatever action he thinks proper.
Yes, but there's something else. My reason for being in Baroness Beauville's bedroom just now.
You said you thought you heard someone.
No, it wasn't that. The truth is, I saw the waiter go in through the door from the corridor after he had left you.
Indeed?
I waited round the corner until he came out again. Then I appeared, pretending I hadn't spotted him.
And what did you discover when you yourself went into the bedroom?
It seemed the same as it had been before. But what was he doing there? I thought it suspicious. Only I didn't want to mention it before the others.
Quite the model of discretion, Mr. Winter, aren't you?
What was he nosing around for?
Possibly merely because he's inquisitive, with a tendency towards the morbid. Not an unusual or unknown characteristic.
Oh, perhaps you're right, Doctor.
Miss Frail will inform you that I make a practice of it, Mr. Winter.
And do you have to call in the police?
Certainly.
Yes, I suppose you must.
Now, if you'll forgive me, I must go down to reception.
I'd better get something done about that...
Wigmore Hotel reception. Good morning, madam. Yes, certainly, a table for two. Good morning, madam. Oh, good morning, sir. Can I help you?
I wonder if you could let me have the Baroness Beauville's mail. I am Dr. Morell.
Oh, there weren't any letters for her this morning.
No?
No, I just looked under B. There's nothing.
Just look again, will you?
Why,
The pigeonhole B.
Oh, there is a letter there. I must have missed that. And it's for the Baroness Beauville, too. Oh, it's nothing important. There you are.
Thank you.
Only from a theatre agency. Excuse me. Wigmore Hotel reception, yes? Oh, yes, sir. We have your reservation for next Thursday. Yes? I'll tell the manager. Good morning, sir. Wasn't there something else, Dr. Morell?
Tell me, did the Baroness arrange about her alarm call last night with you?
That's right, just before I went off duty.
What time was that?
Just after 9 o'clock. She phoned down that her alarm clock had gone wrong or something. So would I give her a ring at 8?
Was that her usual time for getting up?
I didn't know about that.
When she spoke to you, did she sound quite normal?
Oh, yes, ever so normal.
She didn't give you the impression that she was at all upset?
Oh, no, she was perfectly ordinary.
Has she ever arranged for you to give her an alarm call before?
No, not that I can remember. Oh, she may have done that with the night porter. He takes over when I go off.
Thank you.
Only too glad to help, I'm sure.
Well, in that case, perhaps you'd do just one other thing for me.
What's that, Doctor?
Just get me Scotland Yard on the phone, would you?
There you are, Dr. Morell. The coffee's just arrived.
Good.
Shall I pour you some? I was just about to. That's all right. There you are, Doctor.
Thank you.
Find out all you wanted from reception?
I think so.
And the police, you told them?
We've had a word over the telephone.
Dr. Morell.
Yes, Miss Trail?
There's that look on your face.
Indeed.
It may be some time since I've helped you with your cases, but I haven't forgotten that expression when you know the answer.
Do you know?
Doctor, you haven't drunk your coffee.
A pity, my dear Miss Frail, that you've not lately had the opportunity of lending your assistance in my investigation.
I have missed working with you, I must admit.
You flatter me. Had you been, you would have appreciated the trend of my studies of the criminal mind, which have led me more and more to the conclusion that I've reached, which is that a murderer, to take an example suitable to this case, is possessed with an inner compulsion forcing him to destroy not only his victim, but himself.
How fascinating. Your coffee, Dr. Morel.
Yes, it's getting cold.
Do go on, Doctor.
Thank you, Miss Frail. One manifestation of this inner compulsion is the criminal's obsessive urge to return to the scene of the crime. By so doing, he may thus reveal his guilt and so accomplish his self-destruction. Now, concerning Baroness Beauville's murder, another characteristic emerges. It was revealed to me by the contents of this letter addressed to the Baroness, which I've taken the liberty of opening. It's from a ticket agency, acknowledging a phone call yesterday, cancelling 2 tickets for tonight's opera. Who cancelled those tickets? Who but the person who knew the Baroness would be unable to attend because she would be dead? Who, in fact, but her extremely efficient secretary?
Oh, no, not Beauvoir!
Yes, you, Mademoiselle Roland. Winter! Stop her drinking that coffee! Mademoiselle Roland!
Oh, Mademoiselle Roland!
She's collapsed.
Oh, Mademoiselle, what's happened?
You're too late, I fear, Miss Frail. I saw her earlier in that mirror there drop a poison capsule in my coffee. And from the almost instantaneous effect, it must have been prussic acid.
Oh, Mr. Winter, it's Scotland Yard. Oh, the police.
Oh, why? It's Inspector Hood. Hello, Inspector. You remember me when I was with Dr. Morel? Hello? This is Dr. Morel's house? Oh, hello, Inspector Hood. Yes, I see. Thank you. Goodbye. That was Inspector Hood, Dr. Morel. They're holding the post-mortem this afternoon at 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Miss Frail.
It's quite like old times, answering your phone and chatting to Inspector Hood at Scotland Yard.
It's very kind of you to come back here with me.
I wanted to see that you had a good cup of coffee. Oh, I suppose I ought to be returning to the hotel. That was awfully interesting, what you were saying about why a person commits murder.
I'm glad it appeals to you.
All borne out, too, by what happened. Mademoiselle Roland did destroy herself. I suppose Baroness Beauville had threatened to cut her out of her will or something.
A possible motive, Miss Frail. That will be cleared up by Scotland Yard.
And to think that she might have murdered you.
Her last desperate throw. It convinced me, of course, of what I had, up till then, only suspected.
But you said it was the letter from the ticket agency. The fact that she'd cancelled the tickets was proof.
On the contrary, the tickets were there. Mademoiselle Roland hadn't cancelled them. I nearly bluffed her into thinking that she had.
Oh, Dr. Morel, that makes it even more marvelous. Oh, I simply can't go back to that musty old dump.
Well, as it happens, Miss Frail, I rather fancy Miss Shawcroft may be leaving.
Oh, Dr. Morel, it would be wonderful to work for you again.
That was the first adventure of a new series featuring Ernest Dudley's famous character, Dr. Morel, and, of course, his secretary, Miss Frail. The artists taking part were Dr. Morel, Cecil Parker, Miss Frail, Sheila Sim, hotel waiter, Sidney Taffler, Mademoiselle Roland, Tonya Byrne, Anthony Winter, Hugh Manning, hotel receptionist, Molly Rankin, Miss Shawcroft, Kathleen Helm.
This episode of The Adventures of PC-49 is called Adventures of the Black Diamond, which aired on the 27th of July 1950, created specifically for radio by Alan Stranks. PC-49 Police Constable Archibald Barclay Willoughby was an ordinary bobby on the beat, solving crime in the late 40s and early 50s. He worked for Q Division of the Metropolitan Police. The series featured Brian Reese as PC-49, Joy Shelton as his girlfriend Joan Carr, Leslie Perrins as Detective Inspector Wilson, and Eric Phillips as Detective Sergeant Wright. The producer was Vernon Harris, a combination of light comedy and sleuthing in a character who also appeared in comic strips and films as spin-offs. The series began in 1947 and lasted until 1953.
The Adventures of PC-49 by Alan Stranks, being another incident in the career of Police Constable Archibald Barclay Willoughby, with Brian Reese, Joy Shelton, Leslie Perrins, and Eric Phillips. This week's adventure, The Case of the Black Diamonds.
Tell you, Dad, it's the softest cop in the world. Nothing can go wrong if you do what I say.
Fine daughter I got, Muscle. I don't hear from her but once every 2 years, and when she does see fit to take the journey back to Glasgow to visit her old father, she's as bedizened and bedecked as a Jezebel. Where do you get that fur coat?
That's my business.
Oh, fetch you a scalp across your painted mouth if you're speaking of that way. You're no daughter of mine. You talk like a Sassenach anyway.
Well, I've got nowhere in London with that Gorbals accent I inherited from you.
It's a good job your mother's not alive to see you now.
Oh, all right, don't let's argue. I came up here to Glasgow to talk business, and I brought you some whiskey, didn't I, at £4 a bottle?
Oh, well, there's no use wasting good stuff, even if it does come through dirty channels.
Oh, as if you cared where it comes from, as long as it's there for you to drink.
I've got a reputation to consider, aye, and a good job.
A good job, an engine driver. Anyway, you only keep the job because you can hold your grog better than any man I ever saw.
Aye, there's not many can drink like me and still keep a clear head. I've fired an engine for 8 years, and I've driven one for 5. I've been on that footplate with more than a bottle of whiskey inside me money at him, and no one any the wiser.
Well, see if your head's clear enough to take this in. You're taking the 8:55 from Edinburgh through to London tomorrow night, aren't you?
What if I am?
I'll tell you what. Ashley's, the big jewellers, are sending 60,000 quids worth of diamonds by registered mail on that train.
60,000 quid?
Those stones have been up here at Ashley's Glasgow branch for setting, and they're going down to London for sale.
What's on your mind, girl?
How'd you like to have 5,000 quid for yourself?
Keep talking, you hussy.
I've met some pretty hot people in London. If I could get my hands on that jewellery, I could unload it and get enough to pay you 5,000 quid. And Tom Black another 5,000 quid for his share.
Tom Black? Where's young Tom come into this?
Well, he's firing for you tomorrow night, isn't he?
He is.
Okay, and here's the drill. I've had a talk with Tom Black already.
Oh, you have you?
Yes, and I'm going to meet him again later tonight. He's willing to take a chance if you are.
Come on, stop shilly-shally, and what do you want us to do?
All you've got to do is to keep your mouth shut and see that that little puff-puff of yours is running to schedule. Come on, Tom, drink up. Let's get out of here. I want to talk.
Okay. All right, let's go. Now then, let's hear it.
Well, it's just the way I told you last night, Tom. The stuff will be in the mail van, and I'll be in a first-class compartment in the next coach. I bribed the porter to lock me in so I won't be disturbed. The ticket collector...
Tansy Jackson will be doing that job.
Yeah, he'll come along and check the train before we get to Stony Park.
That's right.
You leave the engine, come along the roof to my compartment. I'll open the window, and you can come down.
We'll be doing over 60 along that stretch. I'll need to tie a rope around the ventilator on the roof and let myself down. You'll have to guide my feet in.
Right. I'll have a Mac and a trilby for you in my bag, and a first-class ticket as well. You'll slip the Mac on and pull the trilby well down over your face.
Oh, better bring gloves, too, or Tansy will maybe see my dirty hands.
Okay. Now then, when he's checked the tickets, he'll go back to the corridor, unlock the mail van door, and go through to check the rest of the train. You follow him. Push him in, cosh him, close and lock the door with his keys, rip open that mail bag, and bring the diamonds back to me.
Locking the door again as I come out?
That's it. You'll give me the stuff, go up the roof, Go up the rope onto the roof and back to the footplate.
Where I'll burn the coat and the rest of the stuff. Aye, I've got it all straight. Here, but what if somebody's in the corridor when I follow Jackson out?
It'll be nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. Most of the passengers will have settled down.
But if there is?
Well, you'll have to wait and get Jackson on his way back. Anyway, it's worth the risk, isn't it?
Anything's worth the risk if it gets me enough money to buy what you want. I've never stopped thinking about you, Janet, since you went to London.
Haven't you, Tom? Really?
Why didn't you answer my letters?
Oh, I've been so busy, Tom.
I wish I knew what's keeping you so busy. That coat, for instance, mink, isn't it? Cost a lot of money, those things, eh?
I've got in with some pretty clever people, you know, since I left Glasgow.
I suppose that flashy-looking fella I saw you talking to last night outside your hotel's one of them.
Don't be crazy, Tom. I met him by accident. He's a commercial traveller or something.
Maybe you're telling the truth, and maybe you're not. But get this, Janet.
Oh, Tom, you're hurting my arm.
Listen, I'm throwing away my job, my good name, and everything else to do this. Just because, well, I want to give you the sort of life you seem mad on.
You wouldn't expect me to settle down as the wife of a Gorbals fireman, would you? I told you, Tom, when we pulled this off, you quit your job and come down to London.
And we'll get married?
Of course, darling. That's the whole idea. We'll be able to live very nicely on 15,000 quid.
I thought you said you'd get 20,000 for the stuff.
I've got to cut my old man in, haven't I?
Okay. But if you're not being straight with me about that fellow at the hotel,
Don't be
Janet...
crazy, Tom. There's no one else. You know that. Aren't you going to kiss me?
That's more like the Janet I used to know.
I tell you, Jerry, they've fallen for it hook, line, and sinker.
You're quite sure of your old man, Janet?
I'm sure of both of them.
Good. Then I can check out of this lousy hotel and drive back to London tonight. Oh, gosh, what a setup. They do all the work, you cop the sparklers, and I sell them. Then we both nip out of the country, someplace where they'll never see us again. They won't dare put up a squeal. Even when they rumble, they've been twisted. Oh, it's a cinch.
All the same, I hate to think what'd happen if Tom ever caught up with us. He's as tough as they come.
Now, don't you worry about him. I'll be at Euston to meet you tomorrow night. And when you walk off that train, nobody's going to catch up with us. Not ever, sweetheart.
There we are, darling. 2 nice seats. What time's the train go?
8:55.
8:55. 5 minutes to spare. Come on, let's walk down and have a look at the engine.
Oh, Archie, must we? You can look at it when we get to London tomorrow morning.
I shan't feel like it then. Come on. You know, Uncle Bill used to bring me to this station when I was a kid to look at the trains. I hate to see him cracking up like this.
I cheered him up no end to see you. You ought to be proud of a nephew who uses 48 hours leave to come all the way to Edinburgh just to visit an ailing old man.
Oi, oi. There's the first whistle. Better get back to our carriage. Come on, Joan.
That's the lot, Tansy. Lock it up.
Right away there.
Quite comfortable, darling.
Ah.
Oh, pity we couldn't afford first-class tickets.
Oh, don't be silly, darling. We're saving up.
I really should have got you a sleeper.
Oh, I don't mind sitting up as long as I've got your shoulder to lean on.
Oi, oi. Here's the ticket collector.
Tickets, please.
Here you are, chum.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. How are we running?
Oh, a couple of minutes late. But we've got a straight run from here on. We'll make it up in no time. Good night.
So long.
Maxwell and Razor Bonnie. Hello, this one's locked. Tickets, please.
Here you are, Inspector.
Thank you, madam. Your ticket, sir.
Here you are.
Thank you. You want me to lock this door again, madam?
No, you can leave it open now.
Right, sir. Good night.
Okay, Tom, after him.
Back in 5 minutes.
Give me
What's the idea?
Inside.
No, you don't. Tom Black, what the blazes are you doing here? Put that spanner down. Oh.
Pity you knocked my hat off and saw who it was, Tansy boy. I guess I'll have to finish you off now. Janet,
Did you get the stuff?
I finished him.
What?
I had to. He recognized me.
You bungled it.
If I hadn't done him in, he might have remembered seeing me in here with you. Then you'd have been mixed up.
Oh, where's the stuff?
Here.
All right. Now, out of the window, quick, and back to the footplate.
Okay, I've got the rope. When do I see you?
All right. Hey, Tom! Tom!
What is it?
Where's your other glove? You've only got one on.
What? Oh, I must have dropped it in the...
Oh, you fool, you fool!
See if it's in the corridor.
All right.
Okay, you can shut the window.
The blasted fool, if he's left it in the van. Oh, thank the Lord. Phew, that shook me.
Tickets ready, please. Tickets, please.
I'm afraid I must have dropped my ticket somewhere. I had it in the train, but
Sure it's not in the pocket of your coat?
I'm absolutely certain.
Then I'm afraid I must ask you to wait till the other passengers...
But I can't wait. Look here. Here's 2 5-pound notes. That'll cover the fare. You can keep the change.
Yeah, wait a minute, miss. I'll have to have your address.
What? Oh, well, here's my card. I've got another train fare.
Well, I'll be... tickets, please. All tickets ready, please.
Archie, the girl who just went through the barrier, the one in the mink coat.
What about her?
She's dropped her glove. There it is. Quick.
Okay.
Close the barriers at once, you men. Don't let anyone else out. Close those barriers.
Well, what's the cape, Ralph?
I don't know. Hey, wait a minute. I want to catch that girl.
Sorry, chum. You'll have to wait. Station master's orders.
Stand back, please. Back from the barrier.
I say, I wonder what's the matter.
What's wrong? An accident or something?
Oh, come on, open up. I want to get hurt.
the train again.
What the dickens is all this about?
Sorry, sir. But you'll have to do as you're asked. There's been a murder.
Murder?
Yes, on the train. You'll all have to wait till the police arrive. Please assume the same seats as you were occupying. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, back to your seats. Come along.
Only one more third class and 2 first class compartments to check.
Not a single suspect so far, sir.
I'm betting whoever did this dropped off the train.
But where? She's never made less than 40 miles an hour since passing Stony Park. The collector was all right there. A number of people have sworn they saw him just before passing that point.
Then maybe the killer was one of those few who got through the barrier before it was closed.
Well, there's 3 more compartments. That gives us 3 more chances.
Let's hope he's in here. Come on. Now then, sir. Sorry to have kept you waiting so long, but...
No trouble at all, Inspector.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Oh, no, right. No, it can't be. Tell me I'm seeing things.
It's 49, I'm afraid, sir. And Miss Carr.
Oh, my Lord.
Did you want to give him your visiting card for, Janet?
I tell you, I was rattled, Jerry. I knew that guy was dead in the mail van, and I was carrying the swag. All I wanted to do was to get rid of the evidence.
Well, you can forget about that. I fenced it this afternoon.
Did you get the money?
Sure, I got it. How did you come to lose your ticket, anyway?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose I was a bit jittery and dropped it. Maybe in the carriage.
Well, the coppers checked that train for possible suspects. The afternoon papers are full of it.
Do you think they'll come here?
Well, of course they'll come here.
Well, what'll I do?
Tell them the truth. Tell them you went to Glasgow to visit your old man. You've got nothing to hide.
Well, what's an engine driver's daughter doing in a flat like this?
Well, you're married to me, ain't you? I'm a successful gambler. The cops haven't got a thing on me. So relax, baby. We haven't got a thing to worry about. Not a single thing.
I might have known it. Trust you to be on that train 49. You draw crime like honey draws the flies.
I can't say I'm flattered, sir.
Quite sure you saw nothing unusual?
Quite, Sarge. The man clipped our tickets just before we reached Stony Park, then passed on towards the mail van. Have you recovered the diamonds, sir?
Yes, black diamonds.
Black, sir?
The nearest we found to diamonds were 2 small pieces of coal on the mail van floor.
Well, we've checked everybody on that train very carefully, and they all appear to be above suspicion.
Of course, we can't tell how many passed through the barrier, but in response to our broadcast message, 8 of them have come forward.
All thoroughly respectable people.
Did you find the young lady in the mink coat, sir?
What young lady?
There was no young lady among the 8 who answered our broadcast.
Nevertheless, Sarge, one did pass through the barrier just before it closed. She dropped her glove. I tried to catch her. Seemed in an awful hurry.
What was she like?
Oh, very elegant, sir. Mink coat, crocodile shoes, nylon stockings, trim ankles.
You didn't notice her hat, I suppose?
No, Sarge, I didn't get that far.
What's that, Constable?
I was picking up her gloves, sir. My line of vision was somewhat limited.
Oh, well, this certainly wasn't the work of a woman.
Still, it's a pity we can't check on her.
Well, you can if you wish, Sarge.
Don't say this young woman gave you her address.
Actually not, Sarge, no. But she did give it to the ticket collector at the barrier.
Did she now?
Yes, sir. She lost her ticket. I heard her say so. She gave him £10 and her card. Said she couldn't wait.
Tenner, eh?
Yes, sir. Didn't wait for the change.
We'd better check on this, right?
Yes, sir. 49, would you like to do a little job for us as a plainclothes aide?
Would I, Sarge? Just give me a chance.
All right. I'll fix it with the uniform inspector for you to go down to Euston, where you'll locate this ticket checker and get that young woman's address.
Oh, jolly good, Sarge.
And remember, me lad, that's all we're asking you to do. It's just a routine checkup.
Routine checkup, yes, sir.
So don't try out any of those highfalutin theories of yours.
Oh, me, Sarge? You ought to know me better than that.
We do, 49, we do. That's just the trouble.
Right now, Joe. Care to come with me?
Love to, darling. Oh, by the way, if you're going to visit this young lady, you'd better take that glove.
Oh, where is it?
On the windowsill there. Funny thing, it's a man's glove. And a very expensive one at that.
A man's glove? You quite sure it was she who dropped it?
Not certain. I'll just get my coat.
Ah, lovely bit of stuff. Wish I had a pair of these. Oh, well. This glove's absolutely filthy inside. No one would think she'd been using it to heave coal or something.
All right, Copper. Ready and waiting. Oh, what's the matter? Why the puzzled frown?
Something in my mind trying to add up 2 and 2. I don't know what 2 and which 2.
Now, leave the simple arithmetic until later and let's get on with the job in hand. Come on.
Listen, Angus, you drunken sot. You'll never be able to stand on that footplate tonight.
You'll not see the day I can't do my job, Tom Black. Oh, whiskey is life.
Oh, shut up, you old fool. Shut up. If you're seen in that state, they'll never let you take the train back.
We've got 3 hours yet, Tom, before we're due on the job.
And it'll take you that long to get sober.
I'm not going back until I've got my money. The 5,000 quid. I'm going round to collect my money.
Going where?
To New Hampton Mansions, Camden Square. That's where Janet lives, my boy.
Janet? But you said you didn't know where she lived. She wouldn't even give me her address. Said it was too risky.
Aye, too risky for her.
What do you mean?
The night she came to see me in Glasgow, I sent her out of the room to get some water to drink with my whiskey.
Water, you?
I didn't need drink it. I only wanted the chance to go through her bag.
You would,
Wait. I found a letter in it, Tom, my boy. A letter that means a lot to me and to you, too.
Come on, out with it, man. What are you talking about?
Listen to this. Janet, darling. Yeah. Everything's fixed at this end. I've booked a cabin on A deck in the Southern Cross. She sails next Saturday. I'm driving up to Glasgow and hope to arrive at the hotel sometime tomorrow afternoon. If those suckers won't do the job for 5,000, offer them more. It doesn't matter because we won't be paying them anyway.
What? Here, show me that. If there's any trouble, we should worry. We'll be on the way to Australia, and they'll have to carry the can. Your loving husband, Jerry. It's not true. It can't be true. You're fooling me. You didn't find this in her bag. I say you didn't.
Go, McCully, you fool, and stop shouting. Aye, I found it in her bag, all right.
Why didn't you tell me this? I've gone and killed a man for her. Why didn't you tell me this before I did
Because
it?
you wouldn't have gone through it, and I wanted the money. You want your money too, don't you, Tom?
I want more than money now.
There's no woman 5,000 quid would make you forget. Come on, Tom. I've got a wee debt to collect at 27 New Hampton Mansions.
You mean I've got a debt to pay and you're not coming with me?
Try and stop me, that's all.
Right, you asked for it.
Hey, what's going on now?
He hit him.
Yes, smacked him right in the kisser.
Oh, the old swine. He tried to pinch my wallet. Do you want to make anything of it, eh?
You better get out of here. We don't want no trouble.
Don't worry, I'm away. 27 New Hampton Mansions.
got the address, Archie. Where do we go now? Back to headquarters?
No need to. I'll phone in with the details, and then
What?
we'll return this glove to Mrs. Jerry Burton at New Hampton Mansions.
I thought your job ended here at Houston when you'd got that address.
I've been adding up that little sum I was telling you about.
Got the answer yet?
I got a hunch we might find it through the lady in the mink coat.
What's on your mind?
Diamonds.
What? Oh, you mean the stones that were stolen from the mail van?
No, I mean the 2 little black diamonds that were left on the floor of that van.
By whom?
That's just what's troubling me. Listen, darling. The inside of this glove is filthy, and do you know what with?
No. Tell me.
Coal dust. 2 small pieces of coal were found by the body of the ticket collector.
Well, that's odd.
Now, no one on that train is under the slightest suspicion. At least none of the passengers.
So what?
There are 2 men on that train that Wilson and Wright haven't even dreamed of interviewing.
Who?
The engine driver and the fireman.
What?
It sounds crazy, I know, but
Archie, are you trying to say that one of the engine crew crawled along the top of a train going at about 60 miles an hour?
it's possible. Especially if he had an accomplice in the train to open the window for him.
You mean the woman in the mink coat?
All I'm saying is that the woman in the mink coat dropped a man's glove, and that glove had obviously been worn by somebody whose hands were smothered in coal dust.
My Sunday bonnet. Well, you better tell Inspector Wilson your theory right away.
I'm going to tell him just as much as I think it's good for him to know. Come on, Joe.
Goss-bound impudence. In spite of my explicit orders, he goes off to interview this woman.
And phones in a message to the station officer that he's doing so.
Come on, Wright. We'd better get round to New Hampton Mansions before he makes a fool of himself.
Or fools of us.
What's that, Sergeant?
Nothing, Inspector. I'm with you.
Man's got no idea where you're living, Janet.
I told you, he knows nothing.
Nor this fella, Tom Black.
There's no possible way either of them could know.
Ah, well, we'll be on the high seas this time tomorrow. Like a drink?
I need it. A big one. Someone at the door.
All right, I'll go. And listen, if it's the police, just stick to the story we worked out.
Okay, Jerry.
Go and get some beer out of the fridge. Maybe these coppers could do with a drink, too.
Don't keep him here longer than you can help.
Okay. Yeah? What do you want?
I'm Tom Black.
What?
And first I want you. Now for her.
Who is it, Jerry? Bring him in for a drink.
I'm in, Janet.
Tom. But how did you... No. No. Keep away. I can explain everything.
Just along at the end of the corridor. Come on, Joe.
Well, this theory of yours had better be right, copper boy. Otherwise, Wilson will have your scalp.
Neck or nothing, that's me. Hello. That's funny. The door's open.
Archie, look. There's someone lying on the floor in the hall.
Stand back, Joe. Blimey. Looks like he's run into a locomotive.
Oh, Archie, his face. Is he?
No, he's alive, all right. But he's in pretty bad shape. What the blaze is that?
Shh, listen. It's a woman in that other room. She sounds as if...
Stay here. I'll go and see.
Not likely. I'm coming, too. Oh, there she is.
Keep away, Joe. This is the work of a maniac.
Don't let him hit me again.
My Sunday helmet. The girl in mink.
Oh, the poor thing. I'll go and get some water. There must be a bathroom somewhere.
Now, take it easy. Take it easy. How did this happen?
Tom Black. He came here and...
Who's Tom Black?
Fireman.
Was he on the 8:55 down from Scotland yesterday?
Yes, he only did it for me. It's all my fault. I made him do it.
Easy now, easy. Where is this man? What the blazes?
Archie, quick! In the bathroom. He tried to grab me.
Stand aside. Good Lord. Are you Tom Black?
I am Tom Black, all right. I heard you coming.
All right, Black. I'm a police officer.
A cop,
And
eh?
I'm taking you into custody for questioning in connection with
Nobody's taking me anywhere till I finish the job I've got to do.
You've done enough already. You better go quietly.
Be careful, Archie.
Keep your distance, or I'll serve both of you like I served these two out there.
Put that chair down and don't be a fool.
Keep away, I say. Keep away.
All right, chum, I'm coming in there to get you.
Then it's me or you, copper. Got you, you swine.
Not yet. You haven't tried it, Messiah.
You haven't got a chance, copper. You just haven't got a chance.
The open door, just at the end of the passage, sir. I wonder if 49's arrived yet.
Listen.
He's here, all right, sir.
Yes, and by the sound of things, he's in trouble again. Come on, Sergeant.
Here's all I got left, chum.
Oh! Got him. For Pete's sake, 49, what do you think you're doing?
Plainclothes 8. 49 reporting, sir.
Who's there in the bath, Constable? And who are those two people on the floor outside?
The gang who pulled off the diamond robbery and the 855, Sarge. I rather fancy...
Go on, man, go on.
Don't be a brute, Inspector. Can't you see he's out on his feet?
Quiet, Miss Carr.
I rather think you'll be charging this fellow with the murder of the ticket inspector.
Archie, mind. The bath. Oh, catch someone. Oh, Archie.
Well, I'll be...
What do we do with them now, sir?
Better turn on the cold tap right and bring him round.
Oh, no.
It'll be a pleasure, sir.
What the... turn it off. Turn it... Oh! Ah! Oh! Let me out of here! Let me out of here!
I'm bound to say you did a jolly good job last night.
Thank you, sir.
In spite of the fact that in doing it, you chose to disregard my orders totally.
But, Inspector, if he hadn't gone to that flat, Tom Black would have got clean away.
Yes. There's no doubt, 49, that thanks to your observation...
And his deduction.
Quiet, Joe.
Well, yes, his observation plus his deduction...
To say nothing of his courage.
Quiet, Joe.
Miss Carr, who's supposed to be commending this man, you or me?
Well, you are, Inspector, but I must say you're not overdoing it.
Quiet, Joan.
Now then, Miss Carr, a little more respect, if you please.
All the same, she's quite right, Sergeant. It took a great deal of pluck to tackle that maniac.
No, more luck than pluck, sir.
Oh, well, luck, pluck, deduction, or observation, whichever it was. It resulted in the capture of the gang who did that train job.
Have you recovered the diamonds yet, sir?
Yes, this fellow Jerry Burton made a statement squealing on the character who fenced for him.
Burton will go up for a nice long stretch when he gets out of hospital.
And we picked up the girl's father in a Euston pub.
The divisional surgeon seems to think that this fellow Black's unfit to plead.
You mean he's insane?
I'm afraid so.
When he learned the trick that girl had played on him, he went right off the rails.
And that poor girl paid the penalty for her extreme foolishness. By the way, 49, I've had a word with your inspector, and I've fixed it for you to have a further 48 off. I think you've earned it.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Isn't that wonderful,
Oh,
Joan?
marvelous. But we'll keep in close touch, Inspector.
Keep in touch? What for?
Well, you never know. Something important might crop up, and where would you be then?
Why, Joan.
Where would I be?
Yes, without Archie and
Oh,
me.
my Sunday helmet.
What? Get them out of here, right? Get them out before I...
Out you go, Miss Carr.
Just going, Sarge. Cheerio, Inspector. Come along, Archie, darling. Good morning, all.
That concludes The Case of the Black Diamonds, another incident in this series of adventures of PC-49 by Alan Stranks. The cast was as follows. PC-49, Brian Reese. Joan Carr, Joy Shelton. Chief Inspector Wilson, Leslie Perrins. Sergeant Wright, Eric Phillips. Janet, Mary Mackenzie. Angus, John Lorry. Tom Black, Gordon Jackson. Jerry, John Blythe. Tansy Jackson, Anthony Keary. Ticket checker, Frederick Buckland. The station master, Robert Vernon. Production by Vernon Harris.
Maigret Goes Home is a 1932 detective novel by the Belgian writer Georges Simenon, featuring his character Jules Maigret. Maigret is called back to his home village to try to prevent a crime being committed. It was also released as Maigret on Home Ground and Maigret and the Countess. In 1976-77, Maurice Denham starred in 19 episodes as Maigret, with Michael Gough acting as narrator, in the character of Georges Simenon. Chief Inspector Maigret returns to the village of Saint Fiacre, where he was born, after a note to the police warns that a crime will take place, and soon after he arrives the Countess de Saint Fiacre dies, leaving Maigret to find the killer.
Simenon's Maigret, a series of plays based on the novels of Georges Simenon. With Maurice Denham as Jules Maigret and Michael Gough as Georges Simenon.
Good evening, Monsieur Maigret.
Good evening to you, Monsieur Simenon. You enjoyed your holiday, hmm?
Thank you, Jules, I did. Some Calvados, or perhaps a cognac.
What, no slow gin, George?
No, no slow gin, Jules.
Which one of us was it who made that mistake?
According to Madame Maigret, it was you, old chap.
Ah, Louise is right, I'm sure. Calvados, thank you.
I think I'll join you. It's the right sort of drink for the end of a summer's day. And a pipe, I think.
Ah, yes, a pipe. I hoped you'd be first. Thank you. Even if it was I myself who gave you the idea of smoking a pipe?
Quite untrue, Chief Inspector. Whatever people say. I smoked a pipe before I met you.
Of course, of course. Where did you go?
Holiday?
Yes.
We took the boat round the coastline, all points north, yet again.
You enjoy it?
One thing I did do was to berth at Ostend for a few days, hire a car and drive home.
Home, George?
To where I grew up, Liège. It's always home, is it not, where one grew up?
With me, I don't know. Home.
You once had a case, a very strange case, wasn't it, in the village where you grew up?
Oh, I did. Very strange, yes. Going home.
Maigret Goes Home, translated by Robert Baldick and adapted for radio by Frederick Bradnam.
I noticed the sheet of paper quite by accident. Mind you, it had been floating around the Quai des Orfèvres for several days.
It was from the municipal police at Moulins, if I remember rightly.
You do? It was. It said, for information and possible action to HQ Paris. Beneath this was pinned a piece of squared paper on which was laboriously written, "This is to tell you that a crime will be committed in the church of Saint-Fiacre during First Mass on All Souls' Day." A rather ludicrous message on the face of it. Luca, how long has this been here?
What Chief? Oh, the crime to be at
Moulins. No, Saint-Fiacre, 20 kilometers from Moulins.
Oh, is it? I think it arrived 3 days ago.
When is All Souls' Day? Anybody know?
Is this coming Sunday, Chief? November the 2nd.
Ah, I'm glad to know we have one godly copper. Thank you, Janvier.
It's the day one offers prayers for the pious dead.
Yes, I remember that. A crime will be committed in the church.
I think the Moulin lot think it's a poor joke. Do you take it seriously, Chief?
Now, what sort of a crime can be committed in a small church at First Mass, Lucas? Perhaps a dozen people?
Steal a handbag, lift a wallet. One doesn't go to First Mass with large amounts of money on one. At least so I've found.
Right, young Janvier. No, it'll be a crime against a person.
Murder, Chief?
I wonder.
Are you thinking of going, Chief? It's in the back of the army.
Yeah, I know. I was born in Saint-Fiacre. Grew up there.
My father was steward to the old Comte de Saint-Fiacre. I can see the great, massive chateau now. It frightened the daylights out of me when I was a kid.
Have you ever been back there?
No, not even to visit the graves. My mother died when I was 8. I left Saint-Fiacre when I was 12, but I think I'll go back on Saturday, Lucas, so I can attend the first Mass on Sunday.
Non erat ille, sed ut testimonium per libere termine.
The priest and myself, the only man. There's Marie Tata. When will she remember me? So, I wouldn't have remembered her but for her cross eyes. 10 or 11 other women. For the Comtesse de Saint-Fiacre in the chateau stalls alone. Praying hard enough. Perhaps she has reason. When I last saw her, she was under 30, so she must be almost 60 now. 3 masses on All Souls' Day. Choir boy Maigret used to have breakfast at the priest's house between 2nd and 3rd Mass. Hard-boiled egg and goat's cheese. Do these boys? The young priest now looks a bit of a mystic. Does he fit?
Deo gratias.
Well, the Mass is over, Maigret, and where's the crime? If nobody lies dead, the Comtesse still at prayer, her head in her hands. Well, here's the priest to bow her out. She's very still. Oh, damn it!
Monsieur le curé!
Monsieur?
le curé! The Comtesse.
The Comtesse? Comtesse. Comtesse. No! Oh, my God. Lay her on the chairs.
Yes, monsieur.
All right. I think she's dead, Monsieur le Curé.
Excuse me, who are you?
Chief Inspector Maigret from Paris, monsieur.
How is it that you are here?
I was visiting. My parents are buried here.
Maigret, of course.
There's no sign of a wound.
Monsieur Maigret, you can't mean that...
This must be the doctor.
Sorry, I was out shooting in the ponds. Dead, is she?
I think so.
Anyway, who are you?
No, Chief Inspector Maigret from Paris.
Maigret? Well, I'll be the son of the steward.
Yes.
I'm Bouchardon. I can just remember you as a lanky boy.
Monsieur Bouchardon, is the Comtesse dead?
Let's feel the heart. The famous Maigret never occurred to me. I wasn't a regular doctor. She went to a colleague in Moulins. Yes. Yes, she's dead. Heart failure, I imagine. She had a very weak heart.
But I have second Mass at 7.
Yes, I know. Her car and chauffeur are outside. We'll get her to the chateau. I'll examine her properly there, Maigret.
But can I say Mass, monsieur? Are you sure there has been no...
No crime, Monsieur le Curé?
Indeed.
No. The church can remain open. Only a very weak heart.
You know, Maigret, this is going to create complications.
Doesn't death always? The chateau looks uncared for, run down.
Yes, it's not like it was in your father's day. The chateau is mortgaged.
Huh?
3 out of 4 farms sold. Antique dealers are in and out of the place.
Complications. There's no sign of a wound.
Nothing. Not even a prick of the skin. Well, see for yourself.
Look, is it necessary?
And it wasn't a poison. Sudden heart failure. Wouldn't have taken a lot to kill her. Only a slight shock at 6 in the morning.
Oh, cover her up, please. A shock?
Yes, a shock. Although I can't think what could have given her a shock at first Mass.
Just now, when we arrived, there was a youngish man in the hall, still in his pajamas.
Yes, his world has collapsed. I know. Jean Mateillet. The Comtesse's, well, let's call him secretary.
Tell me about things, Bouchardon.
The Comtesse was one of those women who were models of good behavior all their life. Then, suddenly, they change. When the Comte died, she was, 40 or so. Maurice, the son, went to Paris to study. She was alone. Since then, the young secretaries have come and gone. Mateillet is the latest. Oh, will you answer it? That lot downstairs won't know what to do.
Hello.
Is that the chateau?
Yes, the chateau. Who is he speaking?
The Comte de Saint-Fiacre. Will you ask my mother to come to the telephone? She must be back from Mass by now.
Where are you speaking from?
What the devil's that to do with you? Who are you?
No, you wouldn't know me, but where are you?
I'm at Moulin. What is all this?
It would be best if you came over here at once. I wonder when he got to Moulin.
Well, well, well. Quite a reception committee. What is all this, Bouchardon?
Good morning, Monsieur Maurice. Chief Inspector Maigret, the Comte de Saint-Fiacre.
Good morning, Monsieur le Comte.
Maigret? I've heard of you. What have I done now? Hello. Look who's here. Up early for you, aren't you, Jean? How are you, you little skunk?
I shall be staying at Madame Tapa's.
Been kicked out, have you? Well, use the side door, not the main one. Oh, do you know my mother's secretary? Jean Mateillet, Chief Inspector.
No, I was hoping to meet him sooner or later. My name's Maigret.
I shall be at the inn should you want me, Chief Inspector.
You won't leave Saint-Fiacre, will you?
No. Good morning, gentlemen. And I have not been kicked out, Monsieur Maurice.
My mother...
I'm afraid your mother died this morning during First Mass.
Poor old girl. What did she die of, Bouchardon?
Her heart failed, Monsieur Maurice. I am sorry.
A heart attack? It was never strong. Why are you here, Monsieur Maigret?
I'm wondering who stands to benefit by her death.
Sorry, I don't understand. Her heart failed, you say?
Yeah, something somebody foresaw 10 days ago. See for yourself.
Crime? In the church? First Mass?
I'll be damned.
It's obscene. Take it back, Chief Inspector.
Thank you. I was in church. I saw nothing. She didn't rise at the end of the Mass, that was all.
Poor old girl. I stand to reap some benefit from her death.
That is to be expected, monsieur.
I have explained things to the Chief Inspector. I thought it best.
Of course.
Did you stay in Moulin last night?
I needed to be here first thing this morning, and I didn't want to stay here with that awful little him in the house. You see, I have a cheque being presented against me today for 40,000 francs, and there isn't a single franc in my account to cover it. Now, I was going to ask my mother for a loan this morning.
Go up and see your mother, Monsieur le Comte. She's in her room.
Yes. Excuse me. Poor old girl.
Oh, Mama.
40,000. God, what a mess.
Can it be raised here?
Well, you can ask the steward, but I doubt it. As I said, it is not like it once was, Maigret, and Gautier, the steward, is not the easiest of men.
I'm going to get some breakfast.
Yes, I must snatch something and get off on my rounds. You know, Maigret, it must have been a heart attack. Perhaps she was tired. Perhaps Mateillet was with her all night.
And this message, somehow, she was given a shock.
But in church? How, for heaven's sake?
Oh, there's something she saw or read. Her book. Prayer book.
A missal, you mean?
Yes, missal. It wasn't with her when we carried her to the sacristy.
Must have left it behind in the store.
Let me think. I was watching her. She took communion, then she knelt with her face in her hands, like this. And then she opened her missal, read a moment, and then her face was in her hands again, as I found her. After breakfast, I must find that missal. Ah, Monsieur le Curé, there you are.
Yes, Monsieur Maigret?
I've come looking for something. Perhaps you know where it is.
Tell me what it is.
A missal, Monsieur le Curé, the dead woman's missal.
It's in the sacristy.
Good. Will you come with me?
If I must.
Perhaps you'll be so kind as to find it for me.
It's there.
Hmm?
Behind the surplices.
Thank you. I shouldn't have found it without your help.
It would have been better.
If I hadn't found it, then better for whom?
One evil leads to another. Every morning she'd come back here, ready to return to the ways of the Lord. But every night at the chateau...
See, here, at prayers after communion. Do you see what's inserted? Paris, November the 1st. A dramatic suicide took place yesterday in a flat in the Rue de Miromesnil, which was occupied by the Comte de Saint-Fiacre. After telling a friend he was ashamed of the scandalous conduct of his mother, the Comte shot himself in the head and died a few minutes later without recovering consciousness. It's printed, you see, as if from a newspaper. A spoof newspaper cutting, Monsieur le Curé. And done on a printing press, but badly done. She read it, and her heart stopped. You're silent, Monsieur le Curé. Did you know this was in the missal?
Please do not question me, Chief Inspector. I am under the seal of the confessional.
You know who the murderer is, don't you?
God knows who he is. Now you must excuse me. I have the sick to visit.
Since I'm in the graveyard, the third grave after the cypresses. Flowers on every grave, almost. For All Souls' Day, when you honor the dead. No flowers here. The stone is clean, at least. Here lies Anne Maigret, wife of Évariste. And Évariste Maigret, laid to rest so long ago. So you've paid your respects. Back to work. There's the steward's house. I think it's time you paid a call on the man. Oh, kitchen hasn't changed all that much, Monsieur Gautier.
Oh, you still remember it, eh, Monsieur Maigret?
This polished floor. I always had to wear my slippers in here.
I keep this house as well as I can. But the chateau... you'll have a glass of brandy with me.
No, thank you.
Money's been disappearing all over the place, in all directions. There have been Saturdays when there's not a franc in the safe. I've had to pay the workers myself, and I'm never paid back.
You're owed a lot of money, are you?
70 or 75,000. Madame la Comtesse had no head for business. Your health, Monsieur Maigret.
And yours, Monsieur Gautier.
Monsieur Maurice wanted 40,000 this morning. I've no way of raising it, I told him. No way at all. Try the priest, I told him. He will do it for the honor of the Saint-Fiacre. I told him.
Was he successful?
He will be. The priest will borrow from somebody for him. There'll be 40,000 in the bank tomorrow, and the Comte will not be taken to court. You'll have to sell up here. The creditors will be descending like a flock of vultures. I can see no other way. And there's the mortgage. Oh, Emile. Chief Inspector, this is my son, Emile.
How do you do, Emile?
I'm honored to meet you, Chief Inspector.
Oh, you look your father, son. Do you work on the estate?
No, in Moulins. In the bank, monsieur. I'm a cashier.
Emile is on his way up in the world.
Moulin. I went to the lycée there for a few months. I never settled. Tell me, Emile, is the Journal Le Moulin still going?
Yes, monsieur, it is.
As a boy, I recalled it as a small, friendly place. People going in and out of the printing shop as they liked. I don't suppose it's changed, is it?
I don't have occasion to go there, monsieur, but I'm told it's an easy-going establishment.
This is a bad business here, Chief Inspector. I'm told you received a warning that Madame la Comtesse was in danger.
Well, no name was mentioned. The warning spoke of a crime. That was all. The crime was a joke played on the Comtesse, and she died of it.
People who play such jokes should be punished.
I doubt if this person ever will be. Tell me, what were Jean Métayer's duties at the chateau?
Oh, that would be telling.
Yeah, those duties I know of. The Jewish steward looked after everything on the estate, I'm sure, so Métayer spent his days... how?
Oh, on one scheme or another to make money, with the Comtesse's money as his stake. The latest thing was some printing process.
The steward and his son had the sort of eyes you can never meet. Do you know what I mean, Georges? Cold, unpleasant people.
Actually, my dear Jules, there weren't many what one may call pleasant people in Saint-Fiacre.
True, Georges, true. The heart had gone out of the place.
The way of death for the Comtesse was a symbol, was it not?
I was finding it pointless. Nobody, it seemed, gained a sou by the poor old girl's death.
Yet her death had been thought out carefully, with a peasant-like cunning and a peasant-like wish to attract attention, and place the blame on somebody. On Jean Métayer, I imagine.
On whom else? That was obvious.
And whoever did it knew the Comtesse pretty well, didn't they? Knew the agony of conscience she was gripped by when in church.
And so chose his moment exactly.
Did you show the Comte the account of his suicide?
I did. I had the feeling that something clicked in his mind when he saw it. I discovered, by the way, that the cutting could have been printed in Moulin, although nobody there in the printing shop recalled it being done.
You spoke to poor Jean Métayer, finally, I presume?
After a couple of days, yes. I went to the inn run by the cross-eyed Marie Tatin.
Yes, wine.
Very. Ah, there you are, Monsieur Métayer.
I've expected you since Sunday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Will you have a drink?
No, thank you. I've just had some coffee.
You won't mind if I do, I hope. Waiter, rum, please, little hot water. Tell me, Jean, you don't mind if I call you Jean, do you?
No.
Tell me, Jean, when did you last visit Moulin?
Oh, I don't know, last week sometime. No, Friday, the week before. There's your drink, Chief Inspector.
Yes, I know. Not even the waiter, you notice, talks to me unless he has to. Did you know I was born here?
Yes, I've heard.
Oh, you have. What? The rum's pretty tasteless also. You'd think it'd help being born here,
I don't know why you're here. Just stirring things up, they say. They're a suspicious lot.
Yes, so I've noticed, which means they have a lot to hide. Now, I'll tell you, Jean. I'm here because a crime has been committed.
But the Comtesse died of a heart attack.
Well, true. There's no doubt about it. The autopsy has confirmed Bouchardon's diagnosis. There's no way of bringing the person responsible for her death to justice, you know. Or rather to judicial justice. But I'd like to discover who he is.
Somebody caused her to have a heart attack. Is that what you mean?
Yes, Jean. Somebody who knew her well. Knew the state of her conscience. Knew her heart wasn't strong. Knew she felt a good deal of guilt.
I did nothing. I swear I did nothing to her in any way. I was very fond of her.
Good, yes. And now I'm sure I know who did it. Now, I must... Oh, I almost forgot. You're invited to dinner tonight at the chateau by the Comte.
I think I'd rather not.
Well, it's an order, really, Jean. I think you'll find it interesting. We'll all be there. The Comte, the doctor, the priest, the steward, and Emile, the steward's son, and, of course, myself, the policeman.
And the dead woman laid out on her bed.
Indeed, yes. The funeral is tomorrow. Well, then, until this evening.
Albert, we need some more bottles. With the help of the doctor, I found a will, you know, Monsieur le Curé.
A recent one, Monsieur le Comte?
Yes. Yes, Boucheron thinks it was made immediately after the heart attack the poor old girl had 3 months ago.
That was after she had a telegram from you.
From me, Gautier?
From you in London, Comte. You wanted money, as ever.
Well, you see, Maigret, wanting money is a perennial problem with me. I do hope there's enough in the coffins, or coffers, I mean, to pay for the funeral.
I think Émile Gautier will know that, won't you?
I cannot possibly discuss a client's account.
I wasn't asking you to. Just tell the Comte sometime, that's all.
I shall see that the funeral is paid for.
Decent of you, Gautier, although it's probably my money.
That's a slander. Did you hear that? Father, doctor.
Oh, shut up, Gautier. You're an awful old crook, and you know it.
The cellar is almost empty, monsieur.
The creditors will be annoyed. The white Bordeaux for Monsieur le Curé. Now, your attention, please. Chief Inspector Maigret has a few things to say to us. But first, let me say this. Nobody has anything to fear. Monsieur Maigret can arrest no one. It's not a crime in the judicial sense to slip a phony newspaper cutting into a missile, obviously not. However, the Chief Inspector would like to be sure he's right about who did it. And so would I. And we are all suspects, are we not? We all of us knew that my mother had a very weak heart, that a sudden shock could kill her.
I think, monsieur, that you have no idea of the opprobrium you are casting on us.
What's opprobrium?
To place in disgrace, Gautier. I think the Comte knows what he's doing, Father. Let us see how it goes. Now, let me begin with you, Father.
With me?
You tried to hide the missile after the death, which is an admission of guilt of some sort, isn't it? Had you anything to gain by the death of the Comtesse? I don't mean financially, but, say, spiritually.
And damn my soul for all eternity.
Not necessarily. The Comtesse's conduct was a perpetual scandal and a perpetual challenge to you. Here in the chateau she was a sinner. The sins of the flesh were impossible to break from, even though she came to church burning with anguish. Now, you're a man of fierce faith, I think, Father. The sort of priest who would go to extremes for his faith.
I warn you, the church will
Take
not...
your crack of the whip like a good Christian, Father.
So, at Mass, after she had taken communion, when she is in a state of grace, which won't last, as you well know, you arrange that she receives a terrible shock and dies a holy death there on her knees.
She did die in a state of grace, thank God. But I did not cause her death.
Well, Albert, fill Monsieur le Curé's glass.
And mine also, Albert, only I need another bottle. I'll take you next, Doctor.
It's often the doctor that did it in thrillers, so I'm told.
Yes, and in real life also. Let us assume you are interested in the heart and its functions medically, not emotionally. And so to test a theory, you play the trick with the missile. Will a weak heart stand such a shock or not?
Poppycock, Maigret. I've never done any research since I was a student. I'm too lazy, as everybody knows. No, count me out.
Shall we put the doctor to one side, monsieur? Now, Gautier, you. There are two possibilities with you. First, you are the model steward, devoting your life to the chateau and the family, and watching the family money and land disappear under the nose of the heir, and the Comtesse growing less and less responsible. So you decided to save what is left, not for yourself, but for Monsieur Maurice and the family honor.
That's a pretty theory for a policeman.
Yes, the other possibility is that you're a scoundrel of a steward, who for years has taken advantage of the Comtesse's behavior. When a mortgage is raised, it's you who take it up, and so on.
until you're practically the real owner of the estate.
My father is... Quiet, Emile. Let him finish.
Thank you. Now the time has come when the Comtesse has nothing. Everything will have to be sold. And she will discover it's you who's profited from her stupidity and her trust all these years. Did you, Gautier, think it would be better for the Comtesse to die before she discovered the truth about you and about poverty?
Tomorrow, Monsieur le Comte, I shall resign my stewardship.
But of course. Have another drink. A bottle, Albert.
After the father, the son. You, Emile. A serious-minded, hard-working chap, I'm told. Your job in the bank, giving you insight to the Saint-Fiacre financial position, or non-position. It must have been an agony for you to watch the money that could have gone to your father, if not to yourself, being dissipated by the Comtesse's so-called secretaries. So you had to put a stop to it. Give the old girl a shock and kill off the Comte at the same time. All good, clean fun, but you did have the opportunity, being in Moulins every day, of having the printing done, or doing it yourself.
There is only one of us here who could have had that cutting printed.
No, Emile. There is only one obvious person, not only one person, which is quite another story.
Thank you, Chief Inspector. Why did you want to frame me, Emile?
Yes, why did you, Emile? All right, I'll go on. You were very much the dead woman's protégé, were you not, Emile?
In a sense, yes.
And some years ago you preceded Jean Métayer and the others in the position of secretary.
Monsieur le Comte, it is sacrilege to speak so of the dead.
Monsieur le Curé, sacrilege or not, it's true. That wretched bank clerk was once my mother's lover. Her first lover.
There are no more secrets, Emile. Listen. You were never out of the Comtesse's affections. And recently you were making an effort yourself to resume your old role. I'm not sure why. Perhaps you grew jealous of the hold Jean now had over your Comtesse. Why kill your benefactress? Because you saw her affections being transferred to her secretary. And being hand in glove with your father, you knew you both stood to lose out badly if the situation was allowed to continue. So you decided to end it and place the blame on the man who had caused the trouble. May I borrow your matches, Bouchardon?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks.
Albert, now is the time. You know where it is?
Yes. At once, monsieur.
I thought the cellar was empty.
You, Jean Métayer.
Yes?
You were playing a not very amusing role, one which no young man is willing to play for very long.
Are you
You
insinuating...
had made some money from it, and you'd been told mentioned kindly in your mistress's will. But the Comtesse was sometimes cold to you, and eaten up by guilt. And there's the steward's son lurking in the wings. Things could change for the worse at any moment in your prospect. So, you thought of a brilliant way to kill. You must admit, Jean, it was the sort of idea an inventive chap such as yourself would have more likely to have had than a bank cashier.
Thank you.
Yes, only put yourself in my shoes and maybe you'd think as I do, but you'd be wrong.
What's that mean when it's at home?
Oh, I'm sure Chief Inspector Maigret will explain.
Neither won't, you know. Finally, we come to the heir to these ramshackle fortunes.
Your glass is empty, Monsieur Maigret.
I know, Monsieur Maurice. I'll wait until Albert returns. Now, once before, the Comte had used a trick to obtain money from his mother. The telegram from London saying he was ill, which he wasn't, and needed money, which he did. That worked, so why not try another trick? He got the cutting printed, easy enough in Paris. He came to Moulins on Saturday, and late that night he drove over here, and knowing where his mother kept her things, including her missal, the rest was easy. He didn't mean to kill, of course, only to frighten and soften up. That is why he rang up immediately after First Mass on Sunday last, hoping to speak to a thoroughly frightened woman, who, when she hears her dead son's voice, is so relieved she promises all the money she can lay her hands on.
Bravo, Maigret.
I haven't finished yet, Monsieur le Comte. There is also the possibility that he decided to speed his mother's end with the shock of reading of his death, and such a poignant death, and thereby salvage what was left of things before the Gautier and the Secretariats really made off with the lot.
Ah, thank you, Albert. Place it in the middle of the table, please.
Oh, my God. Good grief, it's your father's old revolver. Did you see it make way?
Yes, I'm not blind, Bouchardon. I'll have some more wine now, please, Albert. Well, Monsieur Maurice, what do you make of my theories?
Ah, you've made out a very good case against 5 of us. Myself, Jean Métayer, old Gautier, young Gautier, and the father. We, any of us, could have done it. And it would be nice to know which of us it was.
No, thank you, Albert. Well, does anybody want to own up?
Huh? Nobody does, I'm afraid, Maigret. So we come to the revolver. There it is, loaded and in the center of the table where any one of us can reach out and take it. It is now 5 minutes to midnight. By midnight, whoever killed my mother will be dead. I know who it is, and I am not excluding myself. And by midnight, I foretell the murderer will have either taken his own life or have had his life taken from him. Albert, leave just 1 candle burning.
We sat in a sort of drunken tension, with just the 1 candle and the smoke from my pipe. It was all but dark. I tried unsuccessfully to see how each man was taking it. Silence, but for the wine being drunk from trembling hands and the priest's nervous cough. Then a hand reached out and took the revolver and fired it. Albert at once but calmly turned the electric light. Maurice Saint-Fiacre lay slumped on the floor. The man who'd fired the gun was Émile Gautier. He placed the smoking revolver back on the table and melodramatically held out his wrists to me.
He said the murderer would die, didn't he? He wouldn't have had the courage to take his own life. I did what I considered to be my duty.
You fired point blank at him. I suppose I shall have to arrest you.
Do so. I know he killed his mother. I saw him prowling round the chateau on Saturday night.
Yes, Emile. We had quite a meeting, didn't we? Good. And you haven't said what you were doing in the chateau.
The dead man's on his feet. Am I that drunk?
You're dead. I shot you. I shot you dead.
It was a kid's game, Emile. Bang, bang, you're dead, only you didn't know it. Do you imagine I would let people shoot each other or themselves? The thing was loaded with blanks.
You're not hurt, Monsieur le Comte?
No, Father. I'm sorry to frighten you, but it was the only way. Oh. And with the Chief Inspector's assistance...
I thought I heard somebody moving about on Saturday after midnight.
Yes. I came from Moulins in the early hours with the idea of taking some of the family jewels, anything of value to sell. I'm sorry, but I did. I met Emile face to face in the dark on the stairs. He told me he had just come from my mother's bedroom. He was so smug. He made me feel disgusted with myself. I saw myself as I really was. A man who creeps back to his family home in the dead of night to steal from it, and meets on the stairs a man of his own age, the son of a servant, come from his mother's bed, who laughs at him. I took nothing. I turned and went back to Moulins. But after my mother's death, I understood who it was who put that foul cutting into her missile. Chief Inspector?
You knew everything, didn't you, Gautier?
What?
You and your son have been working together for years, cheating the Comtesse at every turn. One way or another, half the estate is yours. One thing worried you both. There was always the possibility that the Comte would come to his senses, return here, and take up the reins. Then he would discover what you were at, and see to it that the Comtesse revoked some, at least, of her foolish business deals, and get rid of you as steward. Jean Métayer worried you a bit also. His influence over your victim was quite strong and growing stronger. So you decided to stop the poor woman's weak heart and make it look as if Mattei did it.
There's nothing you can do to us. Not a thing.
I don't know, Gautier. I could arrest Emile for the attempted shooting of the Comte, although it'd be difficult to explain my part in it.
There's no bloody justice if they get off scot-free.
Justice? I don't know. It's a rare commodity. Revenge, perhaps? Do you want revenge, Monsieur Maurice?
No. All I want is to start afresh.
Get out, Gautier, father and son! Get out! Clear out!
If I ever see you again, it will be in the courts, for I intend to fight you for the estate when I can. Go on off with you!
Good riddance to bad rubbish.
Thank you, Monsieur Maigret. Thank you.
Your very good health.
And now, if you will excuse me, I shall go and watch over the dead woman. If you're not too tired, Monsieur le Curé, will you come with me?
If I am not too drunk, Monsieur le Comte. But of course.
Thank you.
Albert, look after my guests for me. After you, Father.
No going home for me anymore, Georges. Do you blame me?
No, Jules. I don't blame you. The parable of the good steward and the bad steward, wasn't it?
For me, yes. I remember my father and the respect people had for him and his honesty. He died worth only a few thousand francs, and I compared him to that greedy old devil who by then owned half the estate, and I felt very old and sour.
Did you stay for the funeral?
I did. It was next morning, and it poured with rain. The priest had a hangover, as did the Comte and the doctor, and Maigret, the policeman.
Gautier and son cheats to the chateau of Saint-Fiacre. They cleared off, did they?
As the funeral procession went past the steward's house, we could see them packing. Oh, it was an impressive ceremony, hangover or not. I remember thinking as the coffin was placed in the family vaults, that's my past also being put away. From now on, Saint-Fiacre is nothing but history.
An important decision. Tell me, Jules, who was it who wrote the letter? The one that took you to Saint-Fiacre?
I never found out. Not that I tried very hard. Gautier's wife was dead. He was looked after by a plump servant girl. Probably she overheard the plot. Perhaps the old devil talked in his sleep, or the coldfish of a son did, but I think it was her who wrote.
Yes, you're probably right. Another Calvados, Jules.
Thank you, Georges.
In Maigret Goes Home by Georges Simenon, translated by Robert Baldick and adapted for radio by Frederick Bradnam, Maurice Denham played Jules Maigret and Michael Goff, Georges Simenon. Lucas was played by Brian Haynes and Janvier, Sean Barrett. Maurice Saint-Fiacre, Michael Spice. Gautier, Cyril Chaps. Émile Gautier, Anthony Daniels. Jean Métayer, Clifford Norgate. Dr. Bouchardon, Hector Ross. And the priest, Michael Deacon. The play was produced and directed by Glyn Dearman.
Next up is a show called Guilty Party. This episode is called Fallen Angel, It aired on the 20th of May 1959. Please note the sound quality is not perfect. Crime shows and whodunits were one of the most popular genres in radio. Even simple-to-solve mysteries could hold an audience, which made them very popular with sponsors. Probably the only format which generated more enthusiasm was quiz shows. Both mysteries and quiz shows challenged the listeners at home who felt they could do as well or better than the people in the studio. This series is a rather successful attempt to combine mysteries and quiz shows with Guilty Party during the late 50s and early 60s. The show began with a short play describing the murder, followed by a series of interviews conducted by a private detective and Inspector Galloway. The interviewees included witnesses and potential suspects, all of whom would have had motive, means, and opportunity to commit the crime. The later portion of the broadcast was given over to a panel who would further interview the witnesses and suspects in hopes of discovering the culprit. Although the panel interview was unrehearsed, the actors were directed to answer truthfully, as their characters, except for the guilty party who naturally lied to disguise his acts.
A problem in crime detection, in which you are invited to match your wits with a panel of experts, John Arlott, F.R. Buckley, and Robert Fabian. First of all, you'll hear the crime play, The Fallen Angel. The panel will then decide on a line of investigation and cross-examine the suspects, who give unscripted answers to their questions. But first of all, here is Joe McCready, private investigator.
Joe? Yes, Inspector. I know what you are going to say.
You do?
Yes. We're lost again.
How do you manage it, Joe? 1 o'clock in the morning, and all we have to do is find a large private house tucked away in the backwaters of Maidenhead, and where are we? Lost.
Took a wrong turning somewhere.
All we need to do is stop outside one of these big places and ask. Popular we shall be, shan't we?
There's an archway. They said you have to go under an archway. Let's try it.
Straight into Bolter's Lock, I expect.
Look. They don't encourage people to visit them around here. This roadway has had no attention for years.
Slow down then, or you'll bust a spring. One thing, it's a glorious moonlit night.
All the more reason why we shouldn't be lost. I say that's a noble-looking pile, if you like.
Mansion converted into flats, we found.
Ah, well, let's ask, shall we?
All right.
They can only snap our heads off. But honestly, once you get off the main roads around these parts, you might be in the very jungle. I say, that house must be 4 stories high. Quite some place.
Not as nice close to as it was from a distance. Too modern. Built like a matchbox.
Hey, Inspector, look down the side of the building, on the concrete yard. Do you see what I see?
There's somebody in pajamas.
Yes. Taking a nap or something. Come on, let's see what's happening.
Oh, no. And all I wanted was a nice, comfortable bed.
Come on, stop moaning. The man in pajamas turned out to be a Mr. Leonard Angel. He wasn't taking a nap. He was dead. He lived with his wife in the top flat, and when we eventually made contact with her, which took some time, she was rather fuddled with sleep and drink. There'd been a party, apparently, and Mrs. Laura Angel had been enjoying herself. Coffee helped to sober her up.
Oh, I really am sorry about this, but we had quite a party. When I went to bed, I more or less died.
Your husband did die.
Poor Len, I can't somehow accept it. Only a couple of hours ago, we were all laughing and drinking together. Oh, no, that's not completely true. We weren't really laughing all that much at the end of the party. We had a row.
You and your husband?
Oh, the 4 of us. And poor Len.
Who were these 4 people? No friends?
Oh, they were all partners in the firm. Gorwood Plastics Limited. There was Len, Johnny Tidmarsh, David Jenkins, and 30 Tremaine.
What was the row about?
Oh, what does it matter? A row's a row. Our parties usually end up in a row. The point is, what's happened to poor Len? You're sure he's dead?
The police doctor's report will be in soon. From what I could see, he died from a fractured skull.
What do you mean he fell and landed on his head?
No. I mean, he looks as though he died from a fractured skull.
But you told me he was lying in the concrete yard.
Yes.
Well, that's strange, because the windows of our flat look out on the lawn.
All the windows?
Yeah. Our bedroom there. Then there's this living room. And that door over there is his spare bedroom. No windows overlook the concrete yard.
Yet he certainly looked as though he'd fallen. To me, anyway.
The roof.
The roof?
Yeah. Sometimes when he's had a few drinks, he goes up on the roof and he does exercises. Says it stops the hangover the next day. Maybe he did that and fell. It's a low parapet on the roof.
But he's your husband. Surely you know whether he went up there tonight?
We had another row after our guests left. So he went and slept in the spare room and I slept in our room.
So really, you don't know what happened?
Oh, I went to bed and died, like I said. Had too much gin. He must have been mad to go up and do exercises on the roof after drinking as much as he did tonight. Just felt in that sort of mood, I suppose. Most time he'd just open the window and take deep breaths and all that. And I'd play merry hell about it. Then, dead. Oh, my God, what's going to happen to me? It's just beginning to penetrate it. And we were quarreling. We said some hateful things to each other. And those were the last words I ever spoke to him. Oh, Len,
Mrs. Angel, do any of the neighbors know you well enough to come and help a little?
No. Only parts of the building are occupied. The other rooms in the house are in the course of being adapted into flats.
Well, is there anyone? Friends, relatives we can call to be with you? You shouldn't be alone just now.
Only my friends. They'll stand by me. Bertie and Johnny and David.
Well, give me their phone numbers and we'll contact them. I dare say we shall want to ask them a question or two anyway. Oh, this will be the police doctor. Turn in, Joe.
Okay, Inspector.
Oh, one thing. How does one get to the roof, Mrs. Angel?
There's a ladder that swings down from the ceiling at the end of the hall. The trapdoor in the ceiling has a lock on it to prevent children playing around up there. But Len had a key. I told him it wasn't safe. I told him.
Now, come in, Doctor. Well, what's the verdict?
And the doctor's verdict was that Leonard Angel had died as the result of a fractured skull. He had multiple injuries also, as one would expect from such a fall. On the soles of the plimsolls he was wearing, there were signs of green, muddy slime. We went up on the roof, the trap door to which was open, and the ladder in position for ascending. Where the parapet made its join with the roof itself, we found a narrow line of this same muddy slime, which had collected over the years as rainwater had washed the mildew and dirt into the sides and corners of the roof. At one point, there were slide marks as though someone had skidded. These marks were right above the spot in which we found Mr. Angel on the concrete. A clear case of accidental death, one would say. But in view of what Mrs. Angel had said about a row, we thought it advisable to ask a few more questions. The doctor stated that death had occurred at about 12:30 a.m. The first person to arrive at the flat as a result of our phone calls was Mr. David Jenkins.
A terrible, terrible thing to happen. Poor Len. You were a business colleague of his, co-director. Forward Plastics Limited is the company. We make all sorts of plastic materials. Indeed, if ever at any time you might be wanting some sheets of plastic, transparent or color-printed, we've got some very unusual designs. Yes, I'm sure you must have. Mrs. Angel said you'd had a quarrel with her husband. Yes. Pity. We all pitched into him, to see. Why? What was the trouble? We'd had a splendid offer for a takeover from one of the biggest plastics companies in the country. We all wanted to accept, but Len Angel wouldn't agree. And our legal agreement inside the company was that all four of us must agree to winding up the company or selling out. Otherwise, it didn't happen.
So now Mr. Angel is dead, you'll be able to go ahead and sell out.
Yes. If there's any bright spot in this tragic affair, that's it. I need the money. Was the argument very heated? Well, Ferdy and Johnny Tidmarsh and I did express ourselves pretty forcibly, you see. What about Mrs. Angel? Whose side was she on? Oh, on our side. Anything Ferdy Tremaine said, she'd support automatically.
Oh, like that, eh?
Laura's always had a soft spot for Ferdy.
Did Mr. Angel know about that?
Difficult not to know. She'd follow him round the room, looking all sheep's eyes at him. Got a bit embarrassing, I might tell you. Would you say that Mr. Angel was jealous? Well, naturally, he didn't like his wife playing up to some other chap, even if he was a co-director. Matter of fact, I reckon that the reason Len Angel was against the takeover was because Ferdy Tremaine organized it.
Now, tell me, Mr. Jenkins, have you ever been up on the roof?
The roof? Here, do you mean?
Yes. Apparently, Mr. Angel was in the habit of doing exercises up there, especially if he'd had a few drinks.
You don't say. Everybody to his own taste, say I, not my idea of fun. But then he didn't drink all that much tonight. Not as much as usual.
What time did the party break up?
Well, seeing that we were getting nowhere with Len, only saying rude things to him, it all broke up early, do you see? About midnight.
Where did you go then?
My home, of course.
You married?
No.
Housekeeper?
No. Woman keeps the place clean, comes in every day for a few hours. I eat out mostly.
So you went back to an empty house?
Empty flat, yes.
You didn't go back to the Angel's flat at all once you'd left at midnight?
Not I. Why do you ask? You're not suggesting that somebody pushed poor old Len and sort of helped him into eternity, are you?
Stranger things have happened.
Well, if it's a question of motive, I don't think you should be asking me questions.
No?
No. Ferdy Tremaine is your man. Why, he's got it always now. He's got the takeover as he wanted it. He's got Laura Angel. He's all right, Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. I think we'll have a word or two with Mr. Tremaine. This is a very sad business, Mr. Tremaine.
Oh, terrible shock. Awful thing. Poor Laura. But where? How? What happened?
We found him lying on the concrete yard. That's all we know.
The concrete yard? Well, had he fallen or something?
That's how it looks.
But where did he fall from? Was he in another flat?
Why do you ask that?
It's obvious, old chap. If he'd fallen from the window of the spare room, he'd have been lying on the lawn, not on the concrete.
We think he fell from the roof.
The roof? Well, what the heck was he doing up on the roof after midnight? Oh, don't tell me he's got a girlfriend up there. Damned uncomfortable spot to choose for a romantic rendezvous.
Was Mr. Angel in the habit of having romantic rendezvous?
Oh, he had his fun, all right. Led poor old Laura a devil of a life one way or another.
You're fond of Laura Angel, aren't you?
Oh, that Welshman's been opening his mouth, has he? Just because a chap behaves decently towards a woman who's having a raw deal, old Jenkins tries to make it into something it isn't. You know, he's a funny chap. Never quite sure about him. Never has anything to do with women himself, but always believes the worst of everybody else. Frustrated, I suppose.
You married, Mr. Tremaine?
Divorced, old chap. One of these marriages that don't work out. Mind you, no hard feelings. We're the best of pals still. Oh, but I say, this really is a pretty bad show, isn't it? I mean, did he fall, or was he pushed, so to speak?
What do you think?
Well, it's difficult to know what to think, really. The takeover's bound to go through now, which will save David Jenkins from the bankruptcy court. Makes you think.
We gather Mr. Angel was in the habit of doing exercises on the roof.
What, at midnight? With a wife like Laura? Oh, he must have been a nutcase. Exercises on the roof, I ask you.
You didn't know he went up on the roof to do exercises?
No, that was one of his peculiar little ways he never told me about.
How would you go about getting onto the flat roof of this place?
Well, never given it a thought. I suppose there is a way up there. Bound to be. There always is. But I'm not all that fond of being on the roof. Oh, you're not seriously suggesting that he went up onto the roof at midnight to do knees bend upward stretch? Oh, surely not.
Oh, we can only go by what Mrs. Angel told us.
And you think that he must have slipped or lost his footing somehow and fell over the parapet?
It's a possibility.
But what's the alternative? That someone followed him up onto the roof and then pushed him over? Oh, that's a bit far-fetched, that is.
Could have happened if anyone had sufficient motive. They might have attacked him in his own flat, then taken him up to the roof and pushed him over to make it look as though it was an accident.
Well, have to be a very strong man to get a chap like Angel up the steps and through a trap door, or whatever the arrangement is up there.
Yes, wouldn't be easy, I agree. Tell us, Mr. Tremaine, what did you do after the party broke up?
I gave Johnny Tidmarsh, he's our other director, a lift home. I went in, had a night
What
chat.
time did you leave his place?
Oh, 12:15 or 12:20, I suppose. He only lives about a mile away.
Were he and Mr. Angel on good terms?
None of us were on good terms with him tonight. He was crabbing this wonderful takeover offer we'd had. We were mad at him, I can tell you.
Did you come back here at all for any reason after leaving Mr. Tidmarsh?
Come back here? What for?
Well, maybe to try and get Mr. Angel to change his mind.
No fear. If I'd come back here, I'd have socked him one. I'd lost patience with the man.
That's what we rather imagined. Thank you, Mr. Tremaine.
Thank you.
Now, Joe, let's have a word or two with Mr. Tidmarsh, shall we?
Mr. Tidmarsh, you left the party with Mr. Tremaine, we understand.
Good gracious me. Yes, I did. Ferdy Tremaine drives like a madman.
Did he stay long with you?
No. The little woman was still waiting up for me, so we had a quick nightcap, the three of us, and off he went.
And did you go straight to bed then?
No, I kissed the little woman good night and went for a turn round the garden. I was in rather a state of turmoil mentally.
You didn't go back again to see Mr. Angel?
Funny you should say that. I made up my mind to walk back and have another chat with him. I got about halfway there and then decided it was a waste of time.
Did you get within sight of the house?
Yes.
What time would that be?
About 12:30, I'd say.
Did you see anybody on the roof of the building?
No. Why, was Leonard Angel up to his rooftop antics again? Oh, I beg your pardon. I keep forgetting he's passed on. I can't somehow believe it.
So you knew he was in the habit of climbing up to the roof to do his exercises, then?
Oh, yes, he tried to get me up there one night. But with my stomach, I found it far too difficult to squeeze through the trapdoor. In any case, I'm not the energetic type. I'm built for comfort rather than for speed of action.
So there's a low parapet running round the roof.
Is there? I wouldn't know.
Well, it rather looks as though he slipped and fell over the parapet onto the concrete yard.
In that case, it could only have been an accident. Couldn't possibly have been foul play.
Why do you say that with such assurance? How do you know?
Oh, because it would be a physical impossibility for anyone to carry Angel's body up a rickety makeshift ladder, through a ridiculously small trapdoor, and onto the roof for the purpose of pushing him over the parapet.
Why do you say carry Angel's body? Are you suggesting that he was killed in his own flat and then pushed overboard, so to speak?
Well, it's a possibility, isn't it? But not from the roof. That wouldn't be a practical proposition. Not for me, anyway.
Could Tremaine or Jenkins have done it?
Well, not unless they were up on the roof and they attacked him there and then pushed him over. What was the time of death?
About 12:30.
Funny. I didn't see him up there at 12:30, and it was a bright moonlight night.
Mr. Tidmarsh, forgive me for asking, but does the death of Mr. Angel solve any problems for you?
Oh, indeed it does. It means that I can now retire comfortably and take my wife to live abroad. The doctors have said that another winter in this benighted climate could kill the little woman. I was more anxious than anyone that the takeover should go through. Now it will. Oh, I know it may sound callous, but in all honesty, I'm not as upset as I ought to be.
Thank you, Mr. Tidmarsh. Well, Joe, this is a rum how'd you do, if you like.
And a rum how'd you do was a very good way of describing this particular case. We examined Mr. Angel's body again. In the breast pocket of his pajamas, we found the key to the trap door leading onto the roof. It really did look like accidental death. But was it? What do you think?
Our three experts have heard the facts in the crime play, The Fallen Angel. Now they have the right to ask questions of the people concerned. The completely unrehearsed questions will be answered without any script or help by the persons interrogated, and they must tell the truth, except in the case of the guilty party, who can and will try to get out of difficulty if he or she is able to. Over now to John Arlott.
We'd like, first of all, Ted Mason, before we get to the suspects, to ask you one or two questions. Was the flat door open or shut?
It was a rim-type lock, and it was on the latch.
In other words, anyone could push it open?
Yes.
How wide is this line of slime on the roof?
Quite narrow, about 6 inches or less.
Were the lights on in the Angel's flat when McCready and the inspector went to it?
The light in the spare room was on, and of course the other lights were put on later when they got in contact with Mrs. Laura Angel.
Right, thank you. Now I wonder if we might speak to Ferdy Tremaine. Sit down, Mr. Tremaine. Don?
Mr. Tremaine, have you ever had a really late party with Lynn Angel?
Oh, quite a few, yes. He enjoyed his booze.
Following that, have you ever discussed hangovers with him?
Well, we both suffered terribly from them. I noticed that. I don't think it's actually come up in discussion very often.
Well, has he ever suggested doing some exercises after a party?
No, not by any means. It was a great shock to me when I heard about this.
Mr. Tremaine, do you live alone?
I do, sir, yes.
Where?
I have a little cottage just the other side of Bray.
Well, how far is that from the Angel's house?
It's roughly 15 miles, I think.
How often do you see Mrs. Angel when her husband isn't about?
Oh, occasionally.
How do you arrange these meetings?
Usually on the phone. I notice that she doesn't have a very happy life, and very often I ring up and pop round and see her, or meet in town, have a coffee.
Does she ring you up?
She has done, yes.
Did she ring you on the night that this happened?
No, she didn't, no.
Tell me one other thing. What time were you rung to come to the Angel's flat?
Oh, dear. It was around about, I'd say 1 o'clock. I got home at about 20 to 1. It must have been about 20 minutes after.
Right. That'll do, Mr. Tremaine. Thank you. I wonder if we can now speak to Mr. Tidmarsh. Now, Mr. Tidmarsh, what put into your mind the idea of Angel being killed in his flat and thrown over the parapet?
Well, I suppose the fact that everyone's asking so many questions.
Angel once tried to get you onto the roof, didn't he?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Did you actually see him pull the ladder down?
Yes.
Open the trap door?
Yes.
What sort of a lock was on the door, you mean?
It's a rim-type lock.
Had he got his pajamas on when he tried to get you onto the roof?
Yes, he had.
Yes. Do you recall, what did he do with the key after he unlocked the trap door on that occasion? Do you remember?
I think he put it in his pajama pocket, but I couldn't be quite certain.
This trapdoor, was it wide enough for a strong man to carry another through it?
No.
It wasn't. What would you say was Angel's weight?
About 11 stone, I should think.
Now, if your guess was right and his body was taken onto the roof, could one person have pushed it up and another have pulled it through?
Yes, I suppose so.
When you set out to walk to the Angels' flat, were you at any time within sight of the windows of their flat?
Yes, it was a bright moonlight night. I could see them vaguely.
Were the lights on?
There was one light on.
What room might that be?
I should think it was the spare room.
You think it was the spare room? All right. Thank you. Perhaps now we could talk to Mrs. Angel. Sit down, Mrs. Angel. Doc?
Thank you.
Are you feeling better now, Mrs. Angel?
Thank you. Yes, very much better. Thanks for a lot of black coffee.
Good. Now tell me, have you ever discussed this habit of your husband's doing exercise on the rooftop with anyone?
Oh, good Lord, no.
Well, to be specific, have you ever discussed these exercises with Freddie Tremaine?
Never mentioned it, Freddie.
You never have?
No.
Have you ever heard him discuss these exercises with any of his partners?
No, I've never heard him discuss them with anyone at all.
Never been mentioned in your presence?
Nope, never.
How many keys are there to the trapdoor?
Well, there's one. Each flat has one.
You only had one?
We only have, yeah.
Where is it usually kept?
Well, it's usually kept under the clock in the mantelpiece in the living room.
Did he usually do his exercises on the roof in pajamas?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Did you telephone Freddie Tremaine this night?
No, I didn't phone Freddie, no. Freddie phoned me earlier in the evening, before the party, just to ask if we got enough to drink and could he bring some more.
Did you phone him after the party?
No.
Did he phone you?
No.
Did you see any of the partners again after the party broke up?
I did not. I was dead to the world.
That's all right then, Mrs. Angel. Thank you very much. I wonder then if we could speak to David Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, how was Lynn Angel when you left him?
Well, I think it might be said that he was soberer than I might expect.
Well, he wasn't very drunk. No.
How did you know how Lynn Angel died?
Well, I didn't know at all until I was the first to arrive, and I was told by two gentlemen who were there at the time.
The other officers, you mean?
Presumably, yes.
How did you get home?
By car.
Now, what would happen to Angel's holdings in the plastic company on his death?
Presumably they would be inherited by Laura.
She'd inherit the interest and the voting power.
Presumably, yes.
How much drink do you think Mrs. Angel had had that night?
Well, it's very hard to tell. Quite a lot, I should say. I should say more than a husband.
What about any of the others? Would you say any of them were drunk?
No.
Would you say that either Tidmarsh or Tremaine was in a violent temper with Angel?
Oh, not a physically violent temper. No, I think they were just irritated by the fact that he wasn't prepared to sell.
Were either of them violent men?
I shouldn't have thought so, no.
Well, now, I'm sorry, Mr. Jenkins, because there's the signal for the end of our interrogation. Well, now, we're still satisfied that the clue is...
Oh, it's difficulty a little...
Well, now, Ted Mason, we're satisfied that Freddie Tremaine is, in the main, the guilty party. But we're sure there must have been some collusion with Laura Angel. The clue we're satisfied is that Tremaine knew that Angel was in the spare bedroom. But the only person who could have told him that is Laura Angel, because the row between her and her husband that caused him to go into the other room didn't happen until all the partners had gone. We think he came back to the flat intending to argue with Angel, knocked the door, and was told that Angel was in the spare room. We assume that he must have killed him in the spare room, got his body up the steps with Laura Angel's assistance, changed into his plimsolls, carried his body across the room, put the plimsolls back on his feet, and thrown him over the parapet.
That's a very good reconstruction of a crime. This crime isn't quite like that, but I'll give you 75% for ingenuity and for getting the main clue, which was, as you say, that Freddie Tremaine knew that this man was in the spare room and not normally in the room with his wife. What exactly happened was this. You're quite right when you say there was a certain amount of collusion between Ferdy Tremaine and Mrs. Angel. Ferdy Tremaine asked Mrs. Angel to supply him with a key to the flat. And he also asked Mrs. Angel to insist upon her husband occupying the spare room. That's how he knew. And then he said to her, now forget everything else, have a lot of gin, and go into a heavy sleep, and don't think about anything, leave the rest to me. Then he came back. When he came back, our friend Mr. Angel was doing his exercises in front of the open window. Now, already, Ferdy Tremaine had got one of his large sheets of plastic material and spread it underneath the window of the spare room, so that when he walked in, hit our friend Angel over the head very hard, fractured his skull, in fact, pushed him out of the window. He landed on the plastic. Then later he removed the body from the plastic and put it round the corner on the concrete and wrapped up the plastic and took it away. He took off his plimsolls, went up on the roof, made the skid marks, but made a mistake and made skid marks on each foot, if you know what I mean. Right. Whereas normally 1 foot only would have been sufficient for him to slip on, wouldn't it? He then came back to the trapdoor, took off the plimsolls, went down, and put the plimsolls back on Angel's feet, put the key back into Angel's pajamas pocket, and I think 75 to 80% you were right, and in fact it could have been done in the way you suggest, because you did get the guilty party and the fact that there was collusion.
John Arlott, F.R. Buckley, and Robert Fabian were the panel in The Fallen Angel. The play was written by Edward J. Mason, and the program produced by Tony Shrine.